What about that Super Bowl, huh? I said it sucked, but some people rightfully pointed out, like Gary Gaffney pointed out that he's a Philly fan. They felt like they got robbed a few years back, so I'm sure it was great if you're a Philly fan. I just wanted to see something close. Also, my stalker's back, so we have that. Dr. J. Feels like it's been 15.
What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to.
And you've aged like it's been 30, so I don't know.
They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and
Gamer Granny.
Fade away, we feel betrayed.
She's a lot of people don't know this. Dr. J's mute. Mute. She has no voice.
Wake it to the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up.
She uses sign language. She has one sign she's very fond of.
Dropping out. Beat the hours, beat the big house.
There it is.
Then the doubt we've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away. Burn away, we feel betrayed.
I knew it was coming.
We were raised to lose the race. Wake it to the back of the pack, kill it anyway.
Dude, I'm so stressed and anxious and high-strung. I might have a fucking heart attack. I don't know what's gonna happen. We'll see when it happens. If you guys see me stroke out, everybody put an F in chat. I've been fucking with the VA for years at this point, but
any way to play. Haters
Feels like they want me to quit.
the world
I think that might be their policy. If they make it hard enough
in any way.
to get what you're owed, eventually you'll fucking give up. Oh, that timing wasn't very good. Was it?
Hey Daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Will Bird. This is Cold Beer Confessional. Thank you for joining us. I took the night off because of the Super Bowl. And to me, the Super Bowl was kind of disappointing. I did like the halftime show. I know a bunch of old white people are like, I couldn't understand. Why can't they just have Kid Rock come on there and say words that I know? I understand. And it did have a political kick to it. I don't think it was like overkill. He said a couple lines like the revolution will be televised. You picked the right time but the wrong guy. A lot of people think that was a shot at Trump. He did his song that's his beef with Drake, Not Like Us, which is one of my favorite songs. It's good for a diss track. It's good in general, and usually diss tracks aren't like winning fucking Grammys. But people that are out here like nobody. I saw a post from, I can't remember who it was, Charlie Kirk maybe, and he's like 90% of the NFL's audience doesn't even know who this Kendrick Lamar guy is. Bro, he just won a shit ton of Grammys. Like he's been trending on the fucking stream list for fucking months and months and months. He's probably the first one to take a fucking diss track and win fucking album of the year or whatever it was. That's crazy. Anyways, yeah, he had Drake's ex-girlfriend allegedly doing a sea walk there. She actually killed it. She did a pretty good job. I think he did a really good job. I honestly, like, I can understand why people were arguing that Lil Wayne should do it, and only because it was New Orleans. And Lil Wayne's never been asked to do it. That's his hometown. It was in his hometown. He's never been asked to do it. And he's definitely had like some chart toppers and has a gigantic fan base and shit. But you can't deny what Kendrick did this year. You can't deny what he did this year. Like he was, he dominated hip hop, and people that don't even listen to hip hop were following along with the story and shit. Like he did a really good job. So, I liked it. They had Samuel L. Jackson as Uncle Sam. Basically, the part about Samuel L. Jackson and Uncle Sam was like the way the government treats minorities, I guess. Tell them not to be too loud. Basically, like know your place. Oh, you're too ghetto kind of deal. But that evolves. It's almost like as his career took off, it evolves to where the government's more accepting, and they'll let him be a little bit louder and do the thing. Like, I don't know. It was pretty good. So if you didn't like the halftime show, that's cool. If you're one of these people, it's like, why can't they just get a white person in a rock band? Well, not everybody thinks like you. I guess. Make angry mayonnaise noises. I don't know what to tell you. Either way, the game wasn't great to me. I guess if you're a Phillies fan, it was. But it wasn't or a Philly fan. It wasn't great to me. I like close games. It was a fucking blowout, dude. It was a blowout. It was bad. So there you go. There's the Super Bowl recap. We got Robbie Roadsteamer for a video here. Let's see what it is.
Eggs! I want my Biden eggs back. $7 to $12 for eggs? Let's cause an egg-surrection in the Capitol or Pepperidge Farms. The lizard Illuminati Trump people are raising the price of eggs to get the next civil war going. All right, MAGA, you win. Trans people are bad. Get rid of all brown people, migrants. Masks are bad. But what about this? Let's get $2 a pound Biden eggs back. I want my Biden eggs back. I want my dirty Biden eggs back. Let's cause an egg-surrection. I want my Biden eggs.
We haven't checked in on Robbie in a while. He's the guy that goes out and like counter protests or whatever. And a lot of times Trump people are like agreeing with him. And then, here's one for condoms to Gaza.
Think of it, $100 million on condoms to Hamas.
Everybody knows this wasn't true at this. Well, most people still. I was saw somebody in the comments arguing. It's like Elon Musk showed it on Twitter. It's true. Most people should know this isn't true by now.
Condoms to Hamas.
$50 million being sent to Gaza to buy condoms.
I like Robbie's videos. I like when he counter protests. Let's storm an Applebee's.
Applebee's afterwards. Let's cause an insurrection at the Applebee's. Well, crowd, I supported a felon. For at least I know I'm free.
You want to incite violence?
How am I inciting violence? Answer the question.
Trying to rile these people up.
I'm singing to them. I'm singing hit songs.
He's still got a tampon on his ear.
I supported a felon. For at least I know I'm free. And I'll surely support Trump and protect him with my balls.
Ashley Babbitt!
Hey, where did we go?
Ashley Babbitt!
Days when the feds came down to Mar-a-Lago, flushing docks down the drain.
I bet you Ashley Babbitt wishes she was alive, not that she could have supported Trump more.
In the Capitol Senate room.
Oh, there was no Doge commercial as far as I know.
The cops.
I know that was a rumor for a while.
My MAGA side girl. You're my MAGA side girl. Life hurts, buddy. Do you remember when we used to say, what about Hunter's laptop, just like that? What about
He's got the voice of an angel. You can't deny that.
laptop, a laptop?
Ashley Babbitt!
Think of it.
Migrants and NAS and trans, oh my! Migrants and NAS and trans, oh my! Migrants and NAS and trans, oh my! Meanwhile, Elon's in your social security account now. Oh. Migrants. This little Trump insurrection, I'm gonna let it slide.
People are trying to now justify Elon Musk having access to all your personal information. It's like, he's rich. He won't steal your information. Well, you think he's coming after your bad credit because you're poor and not rich? No, I don't think he's going to handle the data properly. If he doesn't, then anybody could fucking have it.
Let's deport illegals. I don't like brown people. Let's deport illegals.
Got a ring to it.
Trans. Or you could call my daughter. Tell
My achy
her,
breaky
get
heart.
your father. He's ball washing Trumpy once again. But don't raise the price of eggs. Those achy breaky eggs. It's all part of Biden's master plan. If you raise the price of eggs, those achy breaky eggs will have to storm the Capitol once again.
That makes sense.
Let's deport illegals.
Robbie's pretty funny.
You got Amber Heard. heard. Our desperate nation wants you back with Elon. You're his swan. What's that you say? Ever heard? Elon dates a bot named Ava Braun. Our country's gone. Our country's where.
It would be different if the man didn't have so many conflicts of interest too, and coming out and outright lying, right? Like, everybody wants to stop wasteful spending, and I'm sure there's some in the government. But when you come out and you're sending press releases over to the fucking president and whoever's speaking for him at the time, that you stopped $50 million worth of condoms for Gaza, like you're blatantly lying about what's there. Right? And you know that your audience will eat it up because they already believe everything you all fucking say. Distrust the government. It's almost like they're doubling down on this, like you can't trust anything. And even though he's already won, like, I understand why he had to have his followers, why Trump had to have his followers not be able to trust the media, not be able to trust data, not be able to trust the news, not be able to trust scientists, not be able to trust polls, not be able to trust the things that he said in the past because he needed to win an election. And if they actually objectively looked at any of these things, they would figure out that he was just lying to them over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. But now he's already won. Why are they still fucking lying? Other than to cripple the government, right? Never trust anything that comes out of the government. It's wild, man. And they're doing a good job at it with their following. I know there's people that are leaving MAGA, but far and few between, honestly. Not enough. Nowhere near enough. There's also a trending hashtag like I regret my vote, no longer MAGA. There's a bunch of those. I do want to show you one guy that's now regretting his vote. It's not this live stream, but it is from Mr. Global. This guy. So we've got a guy that literally, so there's this cost sharing thing. I think it's called EQIP, EQIP. There's no U in it. EQIP, and it is a federal cost sharing program for farmers. So basically what happens is, in the name of conservation or responsible farming or whatever, they come to you and say, hey, you qualify for this program. And if you put in this style of fencing, and these protective structures, if you put in a way to feed in this manner, whatever you spend on that, we will reimburse you. Okay? So you spend it. You fix up your farm in the way that's more conservative, healthier for the animals, better for everybody, really, right? If you do these things, you spend the money, you show us that it's completed, satisfy that it's completed to us, and we'll reimburse 100% of that. Right? I know it's called cost sharing, but it seems like the program reimburses 100% of qualified expenses. So if you have a big farm or ranch, you might go out and spend a couple $100,000 or less or more and do these things, and then the government, your farm's getting improved. Yeah, you have to kind of risk your own money up front, but it's a guarantee on the end. So your farm's getting improved and it's costing you nothing. Your fences are getting redone. It's costing you nothing. It's better for you and the animals, the customer. It's better for everybody. It's costing you nothing. But of course, Trump's freeze shut everything down. So now people are in it to tons of money, and money they can't afford, that they only went into this agreement knowing that the government was going to pay them back, knowing that they couldn't afford to make these improvements. And now it's frozen. So the guy's like basically going back and forth. Well, the only way, I'm going to lose my farm. I'm going to lose my farm unless I sell cattle. But I can't sell cattle because I need the calves. And I can't sell. And then he wouldn't have any money left anyways. He'd still lose the farm, right? He's just trying to extend when he's going to lose the farm. Now, since then, he says that guys, we'll watch some of his videos as well. Since then, he says that a reporter that he talked to from WAPO, I think, told him that the freeze or a judge's order that stepped in to stop the freeze may allow him to collect his payment, but I don't think he's got it yet. But I think Mr. Global talks about it here.
Yapped up about it, But Project 2025, I did not read Project 2025 because from my understanding, that's not what he was running on. That's what I was told, and that's the information.
When we get down to the bottom of this, the guy said, there's a bunch of old videos about him saying, well, the illegals need to go. They don't need to be spending my money on illegals. There's also this video where he's like, people are like, didn't you look at Project 2025? I was told that's not his platform. Yeah, but he lies all the time. All you had to do is, then he's like, I'm too busy farming to look at politics. You want to know how this guy decided, according to him, you want to know how he decided to vote? He claims that because he's such a busy farmer, he didn't have time to look into anything. Right?
I believe her name is Aquisha.
Here's this video. He didn't have time to look into anything. So he went online and took one of those quizzes that says, these are your beliefs. You align most with this candidate. Now, those quizzes, for somebody that's just getting it, they don't know anything, they're way behind, blah, 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 they're probably good as a starting point, right, to jump off into politics. The problem with the quizzes is that they're only accurate if the person's platform is their actual platform, right? If I say my platform is to bring jobs back to Tennessee, and your biggest concern is bringing jobs back to Tennessee where you live, and that's my whole platform, is bringing jobs back to Tennessee, then you would be suggested to vote for me. But if all of my actions that I've taken, and I'm lying, and all my actions that I've taken are actually to destroy jobs in Tennessee and outsource them overseas, just because you took that test, I'm lying, right? That my actions don't follow what my platform is. All that's going to do is tell you, like, you seem to believe very strongly about this. This person's platform is based on that. But if they're lying the entire time, it doesn't fucking work. It doesn't fucking work. Now, this guy, somebody called him out in a couple different ways. So here's the first one. Someone says, seems like you have, I'm going to let you listen to the audio. It's you don't need to see the video. Seems like you have this kind of time to make all these TikToks. You have time to look into elections. If you think both sides are the same, then I love this learning opportunity you're currently having. So he's been getting a lot of heat from people. That's the comment he's responding to. Here's his response.
Once again, I want to try to be calm and talk slow because I get worked up. But you guys are saying that if I have the time to TikTok, then I have the time to do research. And I understand your point there. So I made that last TikTok on my lunch break today, so I did not eat lunch.
I think everybody, even the people that were vouching for Trump, knew Project 2025. It's all of his old staff. And he's taken people directly from there and put them into position since he's been elected. It was always his plan. You have to be really retarded. When we were first going over Project 2025, there were people in my chat. They're like, he said he's not affiliated with that. Everybody at Project 2025 is 1 degree of separation away from him. It is his plan until it got leaked and some internal documents and some hidden video evidence got leaked. You never heard him mention it. Then all of a sudden, I don't even know that guy. Who is that guy?
Today I have not ate yet today because I'm trying to actively engage with you guys. I'm trying to listen to you. I'm trying to go through these messages. I'm getting thousands of messages every hour. I'm trying to go through those messages. I'm trying to get back with all of you. I'm trying to hear your stories.
I think it's worse that MAGA retards are always going to be MAGA retards. I think it's worse the Democrats that knew how dangerous Trump is and did a protest vote for third party or set it out because they just didn't like Kamala Harris.
I'm trying to hear your perspectives, and every time I do, and every time I try to engage on it, you guys push me away.
He's the victim here.
Ask me, why did you vote for Trump, or how did you come to the conclusion to vote for Trump? So I
listen
to you what I do. I got on that quiz online, I punched in the information, and it spits out the best candidate that fits my views. And I asked.
He got on a quiz online. He didn't have time. He's so busy farming, he doesn't even eat lunch. He got on a quiz online and said he punched in his information, what he cares about, and it said vote for Trump, and he voted for Trump.
You guys to do the same thing, so that way to see if it lines up with your views, to kind of fact check what I'm looking at to see if that's something that's not biased. And you guys are telling me, well, it didn't work out for you, so I'm not going to do it. It's like, I'm trying to fact check it. You guys are telling me to fact check stuff. I'm trying to fact check it. I'm trying to.
So he wants everybody that's watching this to go take the test and see if it told them to vote for Trump. No, obviously it's what your beliefs are versus a platform.
Listen to you guys, but you guys are pushing me away, and that's what's wrong. And that's what I'm trying to explain to you guys. There's a lot of people that are wanting to listen to you right now. Here's an opportunity for the people who are opening their eyes. They're trying to listen to you, but you're saying it's too late and you don't want to have the conversations now. That's what doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, just like you're upset that you're going to lose your fucking farm, other people are upset because they're going to lose everything. All right, here's the next one. This one says, this is a very good question. And he addresses it here, and I think he's honest about it. He says no. The response he's answering here says, the biggest question for me is, would you still be open to talking this out if you weren't affected? If you weren't personally about to lose your fucking farm? Because that's why I vote the way I do. Not to self-preserve, but for the greater good of everyone. Right? And I think that I don't think anybody's asking you to vote to your own detriments. Right? But I do think there comes a time to vote, and wealthy people will tell you this, that they would be better off under Trump's tax plan. And a lot of them did not vote for Trump. Because even though they would be better off financially, they don't want to see everybody else get fucked, or it's bad for the nation, it's bad for the Constitution, or it's bad for democracy as a whole, or it's bad for every other fucking country in the world. But I think a lot of people are thinking, what can I get? Who can I blame? Oh, it's those dirty immigrants that stole my Meemaw's job or whatever.
Her name is Aquisha, and if I butchered that, I apologize. But she says, the biggest question for me is, would you still be open if you weren't affected? Because that's why I vote the way I do, not to self-preserve, but for the greater good of everyone. A couple hours ago, I had a journalist from the New York Times that I had recently done an interview with reach out to me and let me know
New York
there
Times.
was a federal court that deemed the executive orders that Trump signed freezing the IRA funds was unlawful, and they would have to unfreeze those funds. So right now, I'm no longer affected, but I'm still here and I'm still listening to you guys. I still want to
That's right, Mick
all
Sleazy.
your guys' stories. But I'm not going to lie.
So even though he just heard that it could be unfrozen because a judge stopped it, he still wants to hear your stories. But then he follows that up with, I'm not going to lie. Listen to this next part.
To you, I wouldn't have had these guys. I still want to hear all of your guys' stories. But I'm not going to lie to you. I wouldn't have had these conversations if it wouldn't have affected me. It just wouldn't have happened, and that's wrong. But this is...
Of course not. If he wasn't on the verge of losing his own farm, he'd be making TikTok saying, bye-bye, sorry you entered our country illegally. Oh, you're a welfare queen. Glad we're cleaning that up. And talking about $50 million in condoms to Gaza.
Eye-opening to me, and there's a lot of people that had opened their eyes, and I hope you guys take advantage of the opportunity that's here in front of us. There's a lot of people that are willing to listen to you now. As long as we have these engaged conversations where we're actively listening, we're actively talking to each other, we're hearing both sides of what's going on, this is where change happens. I have had many conversations in my messages with people of all diverse backgrounds that belong to the LGBTQ community. That's a group that I've never listened to before because it didn't affect me. I'm hearing their stories. I'm hearing their perspectives on what's going on, and I'm listening to them. That's something I would not have done if this wouldn't have affected me. So now a lot of people's eyes are open because they got affected by this, and I hope everybody engages and hope everybody has those conversations.
So again, he's still playing victim, right? Saying, well, no, I wouldn't have even paid attention to this, but now's a chance where you can make this. Don't be mean to me. You know, reach out to me and explain to me why.
I am trying my very best to get back with everybody. I'm getting thousands of messages, and I'm trying my very best to listen to everybody's perspective.
Anyways, that's the same guy that Mr. Global is going to talk about here.
Project 2025, because from my understanding, that's not what he was running on. That's what I was told. That's the information that I had. I don't have TV.
So that's the farmer who claims he's losing his farm due to Trump's cuts and spending freezes and everything, and he's in a bind, and he's a Trump voter. And he's saying he didn't read Project 2025, and it was his understanding that that was not the agenda of Donald Trump. Was there anything outside of Project 2025 when you considered voting for Donald Trump? Was there a single thing? Because you're asking us to believe that had you known about Project 2025, that would have been the thing that might have tipped your scales and got you to vote the other way. And I simply do not believe that for 1 second. No. And the reason I don't believe you is because you overlooked everything else. So why wouldn't you overlook Project 2025? Why would that change anything? I mean, if January 6th didn't do it for you, if trying to turn over an election didn't do it for you, if being a convicted felon didn't do it for you, if, being an adjudicated abuser of a woman didn't do it for you, if the classified documents didn't do it for you, if the RICO charges didn't do it for you, if all the other indictments didn't do it for you, if the fact that he repeatedly told you children were getting sex changes in school, if that didn't change your mind, like if there's 1,000 things I could list, if none of those things changed your mind, why would Project 2025? You know what I mean? But look, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I really wouldn't. The American system.
There's also a video that makes him look pretty fucking bad that he's deleted off his channel as well.
Government is going to save you. Yeah. I know you. From the person you voted for, who doesn't believe in the American system of government. Yeah. What has already started happening, what's going to continue to happen, is judges are just going to start putting a freeze and stopping every single thing Donald Trump does. So I'm sure whatever money you're owed or whatever check you're waiting for will be coming. It'll just be delayed.
I think he'll probably still get his money, right? But I also think he's trying to ride this into some social media fame, and he's going to play that as long as he can.
Because we have a system of checks and balances in this country to stop people like Donald Trump, the man you voted for, the patriot, the guy that was going to make America great again. Our classic system of government stops people like Donald Trump, and that you can rely on. That you can rely on. You can't rely on Trump, but you can rely on the one thing he ran against, and that's the government. Isn't that ironic? Isn't that so ironic? Wow. Fascinating. Yeah, thanks.
And here he is. This is another stitch, but we'll go to his page in just a second.
Is the government. NRCS, conservation planning, cost sharing on stuff like fencing, different seedings, water lines, better conserve farmland for agricultural use. They called me today and said, hey, I know we have the signed contract. We're reneging on it. We're not going to pay out on it. I'm just screwed. And unless they
This was kind of his first video where he said, I'm going to lose my farm.
lift this pause on payment, I'm going to lose this farm.
This is the plan. This was the plan the entire time. Donald Trump comes in, starts ripping cords out of the wall for how government works, from the Department of Defense down to USDA, down to USAID. And then everything starts acting funny. Payments stop. You can't get a hold of people. Whatever. And then you blame the government. I wonder if anybody in Missouri or Iowa or Nebraska or Oklahoma or any other major part of farm country bothered to read the Darren Baxt written Department of Agriculture section of Project 2025, because this is exactly what they said they'd do. The agriculture part of Project 20.
They've already broken the trust, right? There's a ton of people that don't trust anything from the government. They'll literally say that they would rather trust a random Twitter person than the government, right? I know they've already broken the trust. Now they need to make sure it seems like everything else is broken. Damn it, stop playing. Now they need to make it seem like everything else is broken as well, to where you can't depend on them. They're not going to deliver. Everything's broken. It's all wasteful spending. We need to start over at square one. And who's in charge? And when they agree to this, right, we need to start over and rebuild it. Who's in charge when they start over and rebuild it? Trump and his friends.
2025 calls out NRCS by name, calls out any and all conservation programs by name, and says they're gone by any means necessary. And that's
He's a DEI farmer.
Did you know they're going to try to go after the Farm Bill to decouple nutrition programs from farm support programs so they can go after them individually? My brother in Christ, you are 2 steps behind. While you're on the phone with NRCS trying to figure out what to do about your well money, you better start making calls to your insurance agent, because they're coming after crop insurance next. I will never in a million years understand why farm country.
They're coming after crop insurance, and I think so. And the reason why is because there have been people recently in the news that scammed crop insurance, right? That are lying about their gains. So crop insurance a lot of times insures the end product. So let's say that your farm puts out 1 million bushels of something, right? If you have storms or something that comes through and you say, well, we only did 500,000 bushels and really you did 1 million, right? you only did 500,000 bushels and sold that for this, and you have paper receipts for that. And then the other 500,000 or whatever you sold under the table, off to the side to some guy for cash only. There have been people that have scammed it, and they're gonna put it out there as the scammers are fucking it up for everybody else. It's a big scam. Real farmers know how to plan. They know how to stay on top of this. They don't need a safety net because they do it right. And it's only the shitty welfare queen farmers or big industrial farmers that don't care about. That's what they're going to do.
Overwhelmingly voted for a man who was promising to screw you over. I hope y'all make it, and for Christ's sake, I hope you do better next time, if there's a next time.
I might lose my farm because the government.
This is his account. Where did I just put that? It doesn't matter. We'll grab it again. There it is. So this is his account, and these are all the questions he's been answering recently. Did they give you a reason for backing up on it?
Hey, Scott, I can't really type back. I've got oil all over my hands. I'm trying to change oil in this truck, but I figured I'd make a video on it. So they're not really backing out of the contract. What they're doing is they're just saying that from here on out, I
left a comment, and I said, this is why we don't turn people loose on government spending when they have no idea how it works. Hopefully your lender will take thoughts and prayers for payment, I guess.
Can't pay out on the cost sharing of what we agreed to. So they're not really backing out of it, but they're not paying out on it either. And they said it could only last a week or two, could last a day, could last months, or they could not pay out at all. There's really no answers. I've ran it all the way up. I've checked in with everybody that I can to see if I can get some answers, if there's a timeline when they think they're going to be able to pay out on it. I can't get any answers, but the reason they're not paying out on it is the administration changes in politics. You know, Trump's in office, and they've got that DOGE program, the Department of Government Efficiency. So they're trying to cut out all the wasteful spending in the government, which I'm all for. But the issue is,
which I'm all for until you get labeled as wasteful. If you're so fucking stupid to understand what you're doing isn't wasteful, and it's being labeled as such, what about all the other programs that are also being labeled as such?
It's a signed contract. It's a legally binding contract. They're not backing out on it. They're not paying out on it. So it puts me in a bind because I've made business decisions based on that contract. So
if it affects our food, they'll just blame somebody else, right? California's not doing water right. This company did that. Bill Gates bought up all the farming land. They'll just blame somebody else.
I don't know how it all works out, and I don't want to get a lawyer involved, because I get a lawyer involved, let's say that I'm paying a lawyer $350 an hour to look into it, and then a week from now they decide, oh, we're going to pay out on the contract that we signed on. Well, then the lawyer's still going to say, give me my money, and then the problem's resolved, but I'm going to be out however many thousands of dollars for the lawyer to look into it. So I'm kind of in a waiting period right now, trying to figure it out, but hopefully something changes, because I don't know what I'm going to do. I need your help to save my farm and many other farms.
Okay.
I'll give you guys an update on what we figured out.
Need you help. Your help. Okay.
So to give you some backstory, if you haven't watched the previous video, please go out, watch that previous video I've got on there. We are possibly going to lose our farm if NRCS doesn't hold up their contract with us on the EQIP program. So the reason that they're not able to hold up the contract is,
if you look up this program, it's spelled EQIP. There's no U in it. It's they call it EQIP, but it's not spelled like EQIP.
Is our EQIP program, which is cost sharing on fences, waters, a well, and some seedings, was funded by the Inflation Reduction Act. Because of the executive orders, there's a pause or a freeze on the funding through the Inflation Reduction Act, and they're not able to pay out on the stuff that we completed or anything going forward. But the issue I have is I've already done a bunch of the work, already paid for the material, already paid for the labor, so I'm out all that cost, and I use my farm operating expenses in order to do those projects, because per contract, I knew that I was going to get cost sharing refunds on the stuff once completed, but now that it's completed, they're saying that they're unable to provide the funds because of the freeze on the Inflation Reduction Act funds. So I reached out to a couple different senators and Congress people. So I reached out to Ann Wagner's office.
Dude, the comments are bad. I voted for you. I voted for you. Did you vote for you? Congratulations. I'm so happy that you're getting what you voted for. So happy for you. The forest was shrinking, but the trees kept voting for the axe. For the axe was clever and convinced the trees that because his handle was made of wood, he was one of them. Who did you vote for? Say his name. Not my lesson to learn. Sorry. This is Project 2025. I'm so happy to see that you're getting everything you voted for. I love this for you. I can't wait to hear more stories like this. It's just the beginning. 16 days in. Congratulations. Have the day you voted for. We tried to tell you concepts of sharing and tagging. Thoughts and prayers. Fuck around and find out. Thoughts and tariffs. Sorry, brother. We did our part, man. Hopefully everything works out for you and your family. We tried to tell you guys. Whose executive order was this? Who'd you vote for? Finding out is rough. Having the day you deserve. Oh, no. Who would have cut that? Sounds like a pretty crucial program. By the way, this program was not, I don't think it was implemented there, but it got all of its funding from the Inflation Reduction Act. Like his major piece of legislation that he got passed, the Inflation Reduction Act, that's where all this came from.
I have not heard.
He voted against that.
I reached out to Josh Hawley's office. I have heard back from him, not from him personally, but from his office, and they are looking into it because they said that this should not be happening.
Of course, that's what they're going to tell you. Oh, you mean Trump? This shouldn't be affecting farmers. We're going after brown people. You're not brown, are you? No, you're white. This shouldn't be affecting farmers at all.
Intention was not to take away the funding from the farmers, but doing the Inflation Reduction Act, cutting those costs, then it's also taken away from the programs that those programs helped out. So it's in the works, but what I need from you guys is if you could please share this, tag your representatives, tag your senators. I need to get some ground on this because I'm not the only one this is affecting. So there are other farmers in the comments saying that they're in the same boat that I'm in because they signed these contracts, and the contracts, even so whenever I looked into the contract, I made sure that that funding was set aside. It wasn't funding that, we hope it's there whenever it's done. I made sure that funding was set aside so that way before I made these business decisions, I knew that funding was there per contract. So they're backing out on the contract because they don't have the funding. They can't release the funds. So please tag the representatives. Please tag the senators. I need to get some ground on this. We need to help me and other farmers out. We've got to get this funding paid out. I don't care if they don't do it in the future.
Oh, yeah, they're not paying contractors and suicide. Yeah.
Multiple farms made business decisions, and multiple farms are going to sink if we don't get traction on this and get those funds unfrozen.
I don't know why he won't blame the guy who did it. Say his name.
Also, everybody says in the comments, Project 2025, didn't you read that? That's his platform. From my understanding, that wasn't his platform. That's not what he's running on. And I never thought I'd be on the political side of TikTok because it's definitely not something I'm interested in. I'm interested in the farm side of TikTok. And
the problem is, if you're going to vote, you have to be on the political side, bro. I don't want to be in politics. I just voted for Trump and he's taking my farm away from me.
And it really sucks that I can't get engaged with the farm side of TikTok, but politics, everybody gets worked up about it. But Project 2025, I did not read Project 2025 because from my understanding, that's not what he was running on. That's what I was told, and that's the information that I had. I don't have TV out here. I don't have news channels. I don't watch the news because every time you turn on the news, this news channel's saying, oh, this news channel's lying about this. The other news channel says, oh, this news channel's lying about this. I don't have time to filter through the bullshit. I'm not going to figure out who's lying, who's not. You get on the internet, and then everybody says, well, the left's lying, the right's lying. It's just a bunch of bullshit. And everybody's arguing with each other, and it's never the people against the politicians. It's the politicians against the politicians, and it's the people against the people. That's what I don't understand. We need to unite.
This both sides are equal is bullshit, dude. I'm fucking tired of hearing it. People that are already regretting their votes are like, yeah, I didn't think he was going to do that, but, both sides are bad. Nowhere near the same level. Imagine if a Democratic president, imagine if Kamala Harris would have won. And on day one, she would have put like a fucking free-for-all, Medicaid for all. She would have just fucking started signing executive orders. Like the furthest left shit you could fucking imagine. Like literally, like they believe the borders are open. Literally, borders are open. Shut down fucking border patrol completely and send an open invite to the world. You think they'd be like, oh, both sides are bad,
Right, and be together, but then you're saying, oh, well, if you didn't vote for my party, we're not uniting with you. Well, that's the fucking problem.
Medicare for all does sound great, but I don't think the president can do it unilaterally through an executive order.
That's the problem. That we have a whole lot of things that we agree on that we could actually solve problems with if we all just settle down and actually have conversations and talk about stuff rather than just hollering, oh, fuck around and find out. Okay, fine, I'm not even going to deal with you then because you're just immature at that point. If you actually want to have a solid conversation and talk.
You're not mature, dude. You voted for the loss of your own farm and then blame other people for saying, well, you voted for this.
Talk about the issues and figure out resolutions to the issues and not just keep bringing up the issues, then I'm all for it. I'm not wasting my time with the immature just yelling, and it's just absolutely insane. But like I said, I appreciate the engagement. Also, everybody says in the comments, Project 2025, didn't you read that? That's his platform. From my understanding, that was...
I'm out here feeding cows, and I wanted to address a comment that said, this guy is fluent in Japanese. That's probably the funniest comment that I've ever heard in my entire life. But I also want to address one that said something about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. And that's definitely something that the farming community is definitely...
You realize that pulling yourself up by the bootstraps started as a saying that it's impossible. You can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Try. Go to a step and then grab your bootstraps and pick your body up to the next step.
Used to. So there's not a lot of profit in the farming profession, and we're used to working really hard for a little amount of money. So that's something we're going to keep on doing, and I think we'll be able to make it work. But I'm out here feeding these cows. Check these cows out. I appreciate the engagement. You guys keep it up.
Step 1, train the people only to...
Oh, and then he finishes off with this.
I think we'll be able to make it work. But I'm out here feeding these cows. Check these cows out. I appreciate the engagement. You guys keep it up.
Step 1, train the people only to consume. Step 2, infiltrate adults with the news. Step 3, indoctrinate the children through the schools and the music and the apps on the phones that they use. Step 4.
Oh, yeah, it looks like he's really regretting his decision.
So I said I voted for Trump because in 2016 to 2020, I thrived. In 2020 to 2024, I struggled. But they said that because I thrived in 2016...
The world fucking struggled, you retard. We were recovering from a fucking global pandemic, and Trump fucked up a bunch of shit on his way out.
2020 was because of the Obama administration, and I struggled in 2020 to 2024 because of the Trump administration. But it's 2025 now, and by that theory, I should be thriving under the Biden administration because it's 2025 by using that theory. But now I'm struggling under the Trump administration, which says Trump's fault. So I don't understand that you guys are going back and forth. It's either one or the other. It can't be you follow the administration before you. That's why you're struggling. That doesn't make any sense to me. So also, the gas prices whenever Biden was in office affected me pretty badly. So we had a whole lot more expenses because of the gas prices whenever Biden was in office. But then everybody said, well, it's not Biden's fault. Okay, well then, as soon as egg prices go up under the Trump administration, it's Trump's fault. Whenever the egg prices went up under Biden's administration, it wasn't Biden's fault. So I don't understand. What I'm saying is, it's the administration's fault altogether. It's the government altogether. It's their fault, and I'm calling out both sides. Trump is screwing up by signing these executive orders to end funding to some of these programs. I'm calling him out. It's his fault. It was Biden's fault whenever they were doing shit back then.
Earlier, by the way, the first video before people started putting pressure on him, he's like, this executive order that just got passed. He never said the word Trump, not fucking once.
The money that's sent over to Ukraine, the billions of dollars that was lying in the pockets of the politicians over in Ukraine.
Ron McDonald.
For Kamala, I don't know how to pronounce her name. My mistake. I don't watch the news.
This isn't true, right? He knows how to pronounce her name. What happened was he's a Trump supporter. He's a Trump. So accidentally it fell out of his mouth. Kamala. And then he thought, oh shit. They hate when fucking Trump supporters can't even say her name. I mean, Kamala, or however you say, I don't watch the news. Sorry. That was habit. He's been talking to all of his friends about Kamala. Garen fucking T.
As soon as egg prices go up under the Trump administration, it's Trump's fault. Whenever the egg prices went up under Biden's administration, it wasn't Biden's fault. So I don't understand. What I'm saying is, it's the administration's fault altogether. It's the government altogether. It's their fault, and I'm calling out both sides. Trump is screwing up by signing these executive orders to end funding to some of these programs. I'm calling him out. It's his fault. It was Biden's fault whenever they were doing shit back then. All that money they sent over to Ukraine, the billions of dollars that was lying in the pockets of the politicians over in Ukraine, I wasn't okay with that.
That's not true either. You're not lining politicians' pockets with Bradleys and tanks.
To vote for Kamala, I don't know how to pronounce her name.
I see, it just fell out.
My mistake, I don't watch the news, but a vote for her was a vote to keep the Biden administration going, because one of the things that really aggravated me with the Biden administration is Biden lost his mind. He was not sane enough to run the country, and nobody called him out from his party. Nobody said, this guy is not sane enough to keep going. We need to call him out. We need to replace him. Nobody said that.
But you know what kept happening while he was president? The funding for farms. That happened.
So you lose your credibility there because you're not calling out your own people. I'm calling out my own people. I voted for Trump. The things he's doing right now, there's a lot of things I don't approve of. There's a lot of things I think that he's doing wrong. But like I said, you got two choices, either Democrat or Republican. That's the two. If they put those two choices in front of you, you got to pick one or the other. So a lot of times I don't agree with either one of them. And that's what I'm saying. It's not me against you. It's us against them. That's what I don't understand. You guys say, well, if you didn't vote my way, then you're against me. It can't be us. No, you guys don't freaking get it. But keep the comments coming, fuck around and find out. Lose the farm. I'll be all right. You guys are just, I don't know. So I said,
you're just talking, guys.
Mandy was pretty nice in the comments. She said she wanted to comment, fuck around and find out, but she asked a question instead, which I'm okay with. I'll answer some questions. So she said,
Because this isn't an economic issue. This is your Trump that signed in order to take away your handouts. Let me explain something to you to start there. It's not your Trump. Just because I voted for somebody doesn't mean that it's your Trump. I don't idolize him.
You voted for him and his policies, right?
There's some people that do idolize him. I don't idolize him. I still think there's a lot of things that he's doing wrong. But like I said in previous videos, you get two choices. So we'll start off by saying it's not your Trump. And then it says if you didn't need it, then why do you need it now? So the way that this handout works is I sign a contract saying that I'm going to front the money for this.
Your welfare queen, and Elon Musk is going to put you in your place.
I'm going to do the work, and then once I complete that, then they give me the cost sharing portion as part of the contract. So I fronted the money on it. I've done the labor, and now they're saying, hey, the money's not.
Somebody says in the comments, Biden-Harris passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which you benefited from. This was them trying to help Americans deal with inflation in different ways. They cared, and Trump doesn't.
It's frozen. We can't give it back to you. So now I've got my money tied up in it, and it's something that I wouldn't have done. I wouldn't have done this if it wasn't for the cost sharing that the program allowed. So it's not something that I had to have in order to run the farm. It was just a benefit that did help me. It's not something that I had to have. But now that I've got my money in it, I need my money back out of it, or that's what the issue is.
It's almost like he left you in a fucking bind, huh?
I want to address the comments that say, how do you vote if you don't have the time to do the research? So let me explain first why I don't have the time to do the research. So I work 17 plus hours a day, every single day, 7 days a week. So I still have a full-time job. I'm a first generational farmer, and I was the one that purchased my farm. So that comes with a pretty heavy debt load that I have to work outside of my farm in order to be able to afford the farm. The farm doesn't sustain itself, and that's just the world we live in. Now, you can't purchase a farm and expect that farm to pay for itself. Now, if you inherit a farm and you don't have that big of a bill on paying for the farm, yeah, you can work off the farm. You know, that could be your main source of income, but I don't have that.
Yes, we did better than every other country in the world during the inflation.
So I have to work a full-time job, and then I also have to maintain the farm after my job. So there's multiple days, 90% of the days, I work 17 plus hours a day. From the time that I wake up to the time that I go to sleep, I'm working.
But you have a phone, you're making TikToks, you can't fucking listen to something? You have to watch it. You can't listen to something?
Any extra free time that I get, I don't spend it researching politics. What I do is I put my phone down, I disconnect, and I spend time with my children, because there's a lot of times where I don't have the time to spend with my children because I'm trying to maintain this farm and keep this farm going. But let me explain to you what I do right before an election. So every election, no matter what the election is, I get online and I search. Let's use 2024 presidential election, for example. So I search 2024 presidential election quiz. And what I do is I fill out 25 questions, and I encourage you to do this as well, because this is the easiest way and the quickest way for me to get the best candidate that fits what I have interest in, the values that I have. So what I do is
only if the candidate's truthful. Only if the candidate plays by the fucking rules.
Get on there, and opencampaign.com is the one that I usually use. So I encourage you to do this. Go to opencampaign.com, fill out the 25 questions or whatever it is, and what they do is they break down different topics, and they ask you your feeling on that topic, and they ask you how important is that topic to you. So you go through there and you fill that out, and it will spit out which candidate fits your needs, fits your values the best. You guys are saying that I'm voting against my interest, but in reality, either vote for either candidate is against my interest, because Democrats are for the EID tags and cattle, and Republicans are against farm subsidies. So either way, either side of that vote is against my interest. And then both sides have beneficial things that benefit me and my interest. So I'm not a one-issue voter. So I don't understand the saying that you're voting against your interest, because both sides have things that benefit me and both sides have things that negative impact me. And that's across the board with everybody. You guys are saying, but Trump is evil, and the things that
EID is tagging cattle, but with, you guys know RFID chips. That's it. Most people already fucking earmark their cattle or tag their cattle. So one of them caused you to lose the fucking farm. The other one would want you to tag your cattle for management purposes. Got it.
Doing is wrong. And I agree with you. There's a lot of things that he is doing that is wrong, just like trying to abolish the 14th Amendment by saying that people born in the United States are not U.S. citizens. I think that's absolutely crazy. That's in the Constitution. That should be something we follow down to the T. If you're born in the United States, you should be a U.S. citizen.
Again, one of them caused you to lose your farm and is trying to take birthright citizenship out of the Constitution. The other one wants you to tag your cattle.
No matter how your parents came in, if you were born in the United States, you are a U.S. citizen. That is the way that I believe. But I also believe in the Second Amendment. I believe I should be able to own any weapon that the U.S. military owns. That's something that I believe. And that might not be something you believe. I want to have the right to have any weapon the U.S. military has. That is, as a American, that's the way that I feel. And the Harris administration wants to regulate what weapons that I can have. So that's what I'm saying. It's not a one-way vote. It's not a one-item vote. You have to balance out what interest you...
You realize Trump banned bump stocks, right? The Biden administration, she had walked all the way back on. They just needed better background checks. Was her last fucking announcement about it.
You support, what interest you don't, and what you do is you make that vote, and then you fight against the things that you feel passionate about that you think that your candidate is doing wrong. And what I'm getting at is I'm not somebody that idolizes Trump, and most people aren't somebody that idolizes Trump. There are people out there that idolize Trump, and I think that that's wrong. There's things that he's doing that is wrong, but there's also people out there that idolize Harris. And there's people that don't think Harris does anything wrong, and I think that's wrong, because we can all agree that term limits is an issue.
We're not equal, dude. One person is like, oh, the Constitution, fuck that.
right? These politicians should not be in office their entire lives. They should not be career politicians. We can also all agree that politicians shouldn't be able to trade stocks that fit their interests based on the answers they give on their issues. We can all agree on that. And that's the stuff where I say we need to come together. You can sway one way with the left or one way with the right, but at the end of the day, there's people that are far left and there's people that are far right, but the majority of us are in the middle, and we just have a little bit of differences on each way we lean. And I'm sure I'm wasting my breath with a lot of you guys, because a lot of you just hate me because I voted for Trump. And I think that's absolutely insane, because I don't hate you because you voted for Harris. I think that you have a different way of thinking, and that's okay. And that's the conversation.
But we're not losing our farms.
To promote. And I really appreciate the people in my messages that are having these constructive conversations with me, because there are a lot of people that
I think most people that supported Harris kind of bit the bullet and was like, well, fuck. Like that's the candidate that's not Trump. And she seems decent on a lot of things.
Open my eyes to other issues that I don't pay attention to. The LGBTQ community, that's not something I usually pay attention to because it doesn't affect me. Now that's wrong. But understand that it's something that doesn't affect me, so I haven't been paying attention to it. And I'm having those constructive conversations now, but whenever you guys are yelling in the comments, fuck around and find out, it pushes a whole class of people away from having those conversations with you. And understand that just because somebody voted for Trump doesn't make them a racist. It doesn't make them hate women. It doesn't make them hate Hispanics. It doesn't make them hate LGBTQ community members. It's because their interests line up with the right side a little bit.
God, I wish I could find that missing video of his.
There's people out there that hate LGBTQ members. There's people out there that just hate everybody. And they're always going to be that, and those people are very loud. That's on the left side and on the right side. And just realize that most of us are in the middle where we want to have those constructive conversations. I'm talking in circles now, so I'm going to let you guys go, but just understand how I voted, why I voted the way that I did, and I'm not a one-issue voter. I do encourage you to go on to opencampaign.com and fill out that survey and see if that lines up with you, because that's something that I don't think is biased, and I'd like to get your guys' opinion on it if you think that those values that they ask questions about align you with the politician that you align with. So I would like to know if you guys, if you could go out there, fill that out, and get back with me and see if that aligns with your values. I want to address the comments and say how...
Once again, I want to try to be calm.
That's the one that says time to make TikToks.
I believe her name is...
That's the biggest question. I think that's about it.
I know you guys don't want to do me any favors, but I'm asking that you actively listen to the things that I'm getting ready to tell you. And that's something I can tell you I've not always been good at, is actively listening. But in my messages, I've been actively listening and actively having conversations with people based on politics. So please listen to what I'm saying before you react, and please understand where I'm coming from whenever I tell you this. So, you keep saying that we told you this is coming, we told you this is coming, we were screaming at the top of our lungs, now you gotta fuck around and find out. What you don't understand is the way that TikTok works and any social media works, the FYP is made up, it's an algorithm that keeps showing you stuff you interact with. So just because you're posting something doesn't mean that I see what you're posting, because it's not the stuff that I'm interacting with. So I hope that explains why I'm not seeing, and why a lot of people aren't seeing the stuff that you guys are posting. There's a lot of people that are willing to listen to you, but whenever you get in the comments and you say fuck around and find out, or I hope you lose your farm, or just anything hateful, it takes that whole group of people and you shut them off and they no longer want to listen to what you're saying. That makes sense? Everyone acts like
guys are victims.
Far left or far right. The majority of America is in the middle. I've explained this to a couple people that message me. It's like having two abusive parents. You got the Democrat mom and the Republican dad, and both of them just hate each other. They absolutely hate each other, and we're just the children in the middle. We're all just trying to get along. And sometimes you side with mom, sometimes you side with dad. At the end of the day, it's us together, and they both fucking hate us. So that's what I'm trying to explain to you, is that's the us versus them. But what you guys are saying is, well, you didn't vote the way I did. You didn't want to listen back in November. Well, nobody was hearing you because you're not on our FYP. And this you guys are fumbling because there's people that are willing to listen to you. I have 40,000 followers that...
I don't interact with your content, so that was your fault.
We're farm talk. We have nothing to do with politics. We don't do politics. But there's people that are willing to listen. I'm speaking out about what's happened to me, how the negative effects of Trump's signing the executive orders has affected me. But you guys are shutting it out because you're overwhelming the comments with the fuck around and find outs and the hoping of failure for other Americans. And then at that point, all of my followers, they want nothing to do with anything that you're saying because you're just hateful people. And it's not because you're left, it's just because you're being hateful. And that's why a lot of people don't listen to you. And that's the way I am. Because if I get in these comments and you're being hateful, I just don't listen. And that's with any topic. It's not just me, it's any topic. If you're being hateful, nobody wants to listen to you. And that happens both on the left and right. And that's where people need to come together and understand that nobody's going to listen to either side if you're hateful with the things that you're saying. And I do want to say that I do appreciate people that are having the constructive conversations with me.
It's hate to tell them, like, you voted for this. You did this to yourself. We tried to tell you. We tried to warn you. That's hate.
Like Will Westmoreland, if you guys haven't seen his video, please go watch his video. That's the conversations that we need to be having. That's the conversations that are constructive. It's not him yelling. It's him explaining his point of view and his side and his understanding of the way politics works. He's explaining it. That's something I haven't seen before. So I'm open-minded to listen to what he has to say and have those conversations. But whenever you guys are rude and hateful people don't tend to listen to you. So please go check out his video. He's a great example of how people should talk to each other. One last thing I wanted to add, if you guys are sticking around here to see my failure, it's not going to happen. I know you guys, a lot of you are wishing for it, but I have definitely sat down, ran some numbers on it. I figured out how we are going to overcome the obstacles that we have faced due to these executive orders.
Not losing his farm now.
Frozen. I will make it work. It will be a financial struggle for me for a while, but I will make it work. I will not lose this farm. So if you're sticking around for failure, it's not going to happen. Sorry to disappoint you, I guess, but I hope you do stick around and we have those constructive conversations. You guys have a good one. I know you guys don't want to do...
Always a victim. Anyways, here's some more MAGA regrets.
You want to talk about regretting your vote? In 2 weeks, I'm done. You want to talk about regretting your vote?
I never thought I'd say that, but I regret my vote. I voted for Trump.
I voted for Trump, and
his name is Skylar Holden.
Regret it now.
As a Hispanic, I voted for Donald J. Trump. Dude, I regret it so much, man.
I am regretting my vote for Donald Trump.
I voted for Donald Trump, and now
I regret it. A lot of people who were like me voted for Trump and have to account for that. I regret.
His name is Skylar Holden, but his TikTok page is Cattleman Family Farms. Either one of them will bring him up.
Voting for Trump.
So deeply regret my vote for Donald Trump.
I regret voting for Trump.
I was a dumbass, voted for Trump. It was the worst.
I hate people with Southern accents. Fucking idiots.
The worst decision I ever made.
I've seen the light, and I got out of MAGA. A lot of us there have seen the light. We have deep regrets.
I feel guilty because I voted for Trump twice. I feel very guilty because I feel responsible. That's why he's still running.
I was with Trump for 9 straight years. I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed in Trump right now.
The comments didn't go well. This is propaganda. These people aren't real. They don't really regret. Nobody regrets their votes. Okay. Back to our political correspondent, Anthony Prock. If anybody's up on politics, it is this fellow.
You guys said that.
It says, the left isn't being hypocritical. They're just giving Trump the same energy that MAGA gave Biden-Harris to show how moronic MAGA was for the past 4 years under Biden. So this is about eggs and shit, right? Like, oh, price of eggs, the price of gas.
You guys said that Joe Biden was like one of the best presidents ever. People say Joe Biden should have never been allowed to run for president because he has dementia. You all claim he never had dementia. You all claim that it was a great economy for the past 4 years when we said it wasn't. But now that
I don't think anybody was saying that.
Trump's in office, it's all of a sudden his fault, even though
I'm going to try to see if I can get this guy on full time.
He wasn't president for the past 4 years. I'll give you an example. You're on vacation from your job for a week, but the second you come back to work, every bad thing that happened the week you were gone is somehow magically your fault when you weren't there for a week. You wouldn't be too happy about that because you're being blamed for the past week and you weren't there for the past week. My point, you're blaming Donald Trump for the past 4 years when he hasn't been in office for the past 4 years. Same point. Grow up and stop being hypocrites. You guys said...
Thank you, Anthony.
Am I registered to vote? What kind of question is that? 2008 was the first year I was allowed to vote because that was when I was old enough to vote. 2008 was the first presidential election. I voted against Obama both times. 2016, I voted for Trump. 2020, I voted for Trump. Trump should have won, but we all know what happened. The left cheated to win the election. And I voted for Trump in 2024. And I'll never vote for a Democratic president. Don't have to like Donald Trump, but guess what? Donald Trump is doing exactly what he said he was going to do in his campaign. Not every president does exactly that. But have a nice rest.
Me and this guy are the same age.
Rest of your night. Am I registered to vote? What kind of question is that? I think you should take your own advice there, dude. See, I usually watch the Super Bowl every...
This says, instead of watching the game, hoping for an advertisement to pop up at some point, you could have done your own research and found out if and when it would air. Just proving you don't do any research.
I think you should take your own advice there, dude. See, I usually watch the Super Bowl every year. Whether there's an ad for this or that, whether I know about an ad for this or that, I still watch the Super Bowl anyways. Now, I didn't watch it from the very beginning because I was at church when the game actually started. And yes, I turned it off with less than 6 minutes to go in the third quarter, not because I didn't see no Elon Musk ad about exposing the Democrats.
Actually,
the game was so lopsided, I knew the Chiefs were going to lose. You should really take your own advice and you do your research. I think you should take your own advice. Actually, you are...
we are complaining about the high prices. We understand inflation and corporate greed. We are pointing out the prices are still high when Trump promised lower prices on day one. Actually,
you are complaining because 5 seconds after he got inaugurated, all you Democrats and liberals started complaining that prices weren't automatically lowered 5 seconds after he got inaugurated.
Not because we think that's how it works, but that's the way he tried to tell people it fucking works.
But the years when all of us were saying that prices were out of control on everything, thanks to the Biden administration, you all said we didn't know what we were talking about. Again, it proves that the left is nothing but hypocrites. So
The price of eggs is skyrocketing. Thanks, Don.
So you're upset about egg prices, which are not Donald Trump's fault. But back in December, you were okay with the egg prices because all you Democrats and liberals didn't complain about food prices, gas prices.
Hasn't everybody been complaining? I don't think gas is that bad. I mean, maybe I just don't travel enough. I don't think gas is bad, but it wasn't everybody complaining about inflation and the price of things, and it needs to come down, and everybody needs to have a plan for it, and
prices, any of that back in December, and they weren't any cheaper back in December. They were still sky high. We all know who was president back in December, right? In case you forgot, Joe Biden was still the president back in December when the egg prices were still high. And Joe Biden's the one that got all those millions of egg-laying chickens killed. So now that Trump's the president, you all of a sudden have a problem with egg prices and, food prices and gas prices. But when Biden was president for 4 years, the last 4 years, you were okay with those high prices. And you know what that makes you? A hypocrite. Have a nice rest of your night. So...
Thank you very much, Anthony. This is our official political correspondent, Anthony Prock.
We're going to talk about...
And y'all believe anything the right says without doing y'all's research. $600 million for sushi. Oh, this is the latest claim that the Pentagon and their employees were spending $600 million a year on sushi. And somebody figured it up that even if every employee was at the Pentagon, that a lot of them work remotely, a lot of them come in there, they have offices, but they're rarely there, whatever. But even if every one of them was there, for every day of the year, $365, and you averaged the average plate of sushi at $50 a plate, that they would have to eat sushi 1.8 times per day. 1.8 times per day. Every employee there, no off days, no weekends, no holidays. They'd have to be eating sushi 1.8 times a day if sushi was $50 a plate. And that was like 25,000 employees when usually there's only about 9,800 employees or something at the Pentagon. And of course, they're only there for like 230 some days out of the year. So really, it's like they'd be eating it like 4 or 5 times a day at $70 a plate.
Sushi. What about the money FEMA was given to illegal immigrants to house them in New York City, when that money should have been used to help the people of Western North Carolina and the people of Florida, people of California? I don't understand why you're defending the people that got rich off of your tax dollars, that sent how many millions of dollars over to Iraq for a gas station that had no customers? Like, you should be upset about this and upset about...
Everything's out of context.
Now that
everything's out of context.
Money is going, that we are forced to pay to the government every year. You don't like it if the government has to audit you, if the IRS says we're auditing you on your taxes, but you're not okay with the Trump administration doing it to the IRS, doing it to the federal government. That just proves you're part of the problem. Let me give you a scenario. Let's say somebody asks to borrow money from you, somebody you know, right? They ask to borrow money from you. The first thing you're going to ask is, why do you need the money? And if it's for some stupid reason, what are you going to tell them? You're going to tell them, no, I'm not lending you any money. We can't do that to the government, because if we don't pay our taxes, we go to prison. But you're okay, like I said, okay with the federal government spending our money that we have to pay them every year on stupid stuff. You're okay with this country getting more and more in debt, and then we have to make up for it by paying more taxes. But like I said, you're part of the problem since you're okay with it. Have a good rest of your night. We're going to talk about sushi. What about the
So of course this is grossly misinterpreted. So the numbers are inflated. The money was sent for a housing crisis that they had when they bus fucking migrants to New York City. They weren't spent on luxury hotels. A lot of them were on makeshift shelters. They were literally building shelters. They're taking these one or two examples how somebody accidentally fucked the system and one person had to be put in a higher end hotel because everything else was booked for like one fucking night, and saying all the money went there.
Coming from a liberal that falls for it every single day, you believe...
No way that you guys fell for the fake news.
Coming from a liberal that falls for it every single day, you believe everything the left tells you and everything the mainstream media tells you every single day, and you don't think twice to look it up. You just believe it as fact instead of going to do your own research about it first. You hate...
FEMA has a thing called Sheltering and Services Program.
Trump so much that
it reimburses cities for certain housing criteria around like migrant crises.
What they say about the guy,
and it was because the border was declared a crisis.
The worst about it. So nice try. You're the ones that fall for fake news every single day, not us. Coming from a liberal that falls for it every single day, you believe everything the left tells you and everything the mainstream...
So even here at the end of this, it says, New York City was ultimately granted $59 million last year, which hasn't been paid out. About $19 million has. It comes in steps after they ask for the reimbursement, which corresponds with a FEMA payment that Musk claims is illegal, records show. The grant won't go towards fancy hotels. It'll go towards housing at moderate hotels or home-built housing or whatever's available, right, during a crisis. Instead, the majority will be spent on reimbursing other services the city shouldered as it cared for hundreds of thousands of migrants requiring food, health care, and other needs as they flowed into the city, officials said. That's why this was a migrant crisis.
Media tells you every single day, and you don't think twice.
You're just wrong.
To look it up. You just believe it as fact instead of going to do your own...
Roughly $26 million of that FEMA grant will go to food, security, and other services, with another $13 million going towards congregate shelters. A huge shelter they build where they house 10s, 20s, hundreds of people, right? And like fucking cots. Those reimbursed expenses are from the city's cost from dealing with the migrant crisis between November 2023 and October, officials said. Musk and Doja has taken a wrecking ball approach to their mission, which critics... So what they'll find one outlier example, like the $50 million in condoms going to Gaza, right? No condoms went to fucking Gaza. This is actually money that went to Gaza province in Africa and included some prophylactics because of the fucking AIDS crisis that's in Africa. But it didn't go to Hamas. It didn't go to Gaza in relationship to Israel at all in any way, shape, or form. And because this health service, it's a hospital, also provides condoms, well, then it's $50 million for condoms.
Research about it first. You hate Trump so much that no matter what they say about the guy, you're always going to think the worst about it. So nice try. You're the ones that fall for fake news every single day.
So let's put it in I'll put it in terms that you guys can understand. Let's say $50 billion was spent on Western North Carolina Hurricane Helene. I'm living in that right now, right? We got fucked by the flood. Let's say $50 billion was spent on funding relief for Hurricane Helene. And let's say of that $50 billion, one person claimed a total loss on their house, and really the loss wasn't that bad. It was damage, but it wasn't a total loss. And let's say they got $100,000, and they go out and buy a brand new BMW, right? And let's say they happen to be black and gay. Black and gay. Okay? Black and gay. Then Elon Musk is going to say that $100 billion went to putting black gay people in BMWs. But no, the majority of that money went to a legitimate, just because somebody fucked the system over, or you heard reports that someone fucked the system over, or you can't figure out where fucking Gaza province is on a map in relationship to Israel. Like, it's bullshit, right? We're just going to chalk it all up to this. Like, okay, the subscription service that leaders of government, like your boss comes into you and says, hey, we use Politico a lot when we're figuring out stuff. We're writing speeches. We need to analyze data. We need to do this for our job. So I'm going to pay for a subscription for the top 10 people in this office, blah, blah, blah. So you can write your reports. You can do this. You can do that. You can analyze the data, right? I'm going to pay for that. And it comes to you and you get paid for it. And then Elon Musk comes in and says, oh, they're paying Politico to write left-wing stories. The fuck are you talking about?
I don't know. How about you go ask your parents and find out if they're brother and sister? Or maybe they were first cousins. Yeah, because you sound like some hillbilly anyways. I'm talking about the NFL and Super Bowl, and yes, I did bring up Elon Musk. And your response to that is, how related are your parents? Brains were not in your gene pool, were they? Have a good rest of your night. I don't know. How about you go...
The Festivus report is widely debunked every fucking year it comes out. Some of it is like legitimate, but he places it in such a way that it seems like a ridiculous spend. Science often gets a bad rap, being too spinny, focused on useless subject. Politicians frequently call out scientific studies and think they are ridiculous and bestow awards for squandering taxpayer money. Media outlets have jumped on the bandwagon with articles claiming that 85% of research money is wasted. Most of these efforts to shame science are baseless. The 85% figure comes from an opinion piece where the authors pulled the number out of thin air. When trusted public figures use bad faith arguments to denigrate research, it decreases trust in science, making it more difficult to improve public health outcomes and implement solutions to ongoing crises. Senator Paul and his compatriots also seem to forget that scientific research and development creates jobs and provides a net gain to the economy. For example, every dollar spent on research at the University of Kentucky generates $1.85, a pretty good return on investment. While the Festivus report, unsurprisingly, doesn't include any research studies based in Kentucky, the type of studies he describes as wasteful are similar to research conducted in the Commonwealth that Senator Paul is supposed to represent. By the way, what's her name from Alabama came out today. So you guys know that University of Alabama is the state of Alabama's largest employer, right? And they're cutting funding to their research because it gets labeled into all this woke ideology research. Get the fuck out of here. The Festivus reports annotate scientific studies with snarky commentary instead of the necessary context to understand the research. It's difficult to tell how much of the misinformation littering the report is cynical ploy to score political points and how much of it is a result of science illiteracy. Either way, it's pretty hypocritical that a report about wasting taxpayer money was produced using taxpayers' money without due diligence to ensure that the information is accurate. Conveniently, information on research sponsored by federal grants is publicly available in databases that anyone can access. I've used that information, along with my training as a biologist, to present context for some scientific studies lampooned in the report so you can decide for yourself whether the research is wasteful or not. The grant was awarded while were researchers watching hamsters on steroids fight. Well, this is one of them, watching hamsters on steroids fight. The grant was awarded to develop an animal model, in this case, Syrian hamsters, for studying maladaptive aggression in adolescents who abuse steroids. So why would we fund to give hamsters steroids and catalog their aggression, or as he puts it, watching hamsters on steroids fight? It's for the first step in a study for youth on steroids. It was funded by the National Institute for Drug Abuse, which focuses on the science and addiction to improve drug users' health outcomes. Also, federal funding for this research ended back in 2015, but it was included in the 2022 Festivus report. Steroid users are 9 times more likely to commit a crime, and aggression leads steroid users to participate in violent behavior at higher rates than non-users. Children who use steroids and adolescents may show aggression even after they stop taking steroids. Research on how to curb steroid-mediated aggression potentially benefits health and public safety, according to NIH reporter, which provides information about grants awarded by the National Institute of Health and hamsters. Grant resulted in at least 40 scientific publications. Using hamsters allowed the researchers to do more invasive studies than they could if they used human subjects, such as mapping neural pathways associated with aggressions. The most recent publication identified several medications that were effective at reducing this type of aggression. So when you lay it out as they're a bunch of fucking left-wing lunatics who want to watch hamsters fight, that sounds crazy. When we do this like every other study we do, And we use rodents and steroids to figure out, because steroids have become a big hit with the fucking youth currently, about how to deal with their aggression even post-steroid use. Can we identify something to help with this? Let's say they did fuck up and use steroids, and now they got this aggression issue. Is there some way that we can get them back on the right path? That doesn't sound as catchy, does it? Right? It never sounds as catchy. Did researchers inject beagle puppies with cocaine? This is another one in the 2022 report. Yes, they did. The money for this study was used to test the safety of a new drug for the treatment for cocaine addiction in rats and dogs, specifically 6-month-old beagles. The NIH, along with the Department of Health and Human Services, contracted out the drug testing to a nonprofit research institute, which is very common for NIH. At the time the study was commissioned, the FDA required new drug treatments to be tested in animals before they could be approved on human clinical trials, which passed. The FDA Modernization Act 2.0, which passed at the end of 2022, removed that requirement, but it wasn't signed into law when this study began. So if the research was about a drug for treating cocaine addiction, why were the dogs injected with cocaine? The dog in the experimental treatment were given cocaine alongside the drug to treat cocaine addiction to mimic what would happen if a cocaine user relapsed while being treated. Adverse reaction between drugs can be life-threatening. So getting an idea of how the two drugs interact is an important safety consideration. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not condoning the use of animals in biomedical research. I applaud Senator Rand's co-sponsorship of the FDA Modernization Act 2.0 and any efforts to eliminate animal testing. Some alternatives to animal testing already exist, and there are promising methods in the works to predict drug interactions using AI. There is conflicting evidence about how accurate animal testing is at predicting the safety of drugs before they are approved for use in humans. But right now, there aren't great alternatives available. One last note on the dog's welfare. Documents released about the study state that the researchers were required to provide dogs with toys, socialization, veterinary care. The dogs will not be euthanized after the study is complete. So to just say that they're putting cocaine in dogs is fucking ridiculous. When you only give one, thank you very much. You have so much truth to offer. The truth matters. Thank you very much for the donation. When you just say, oh, they're shooting up dogs with cocaine, yeah, that sounds fucking crazy. How do you think we test every other drug in the world before the Modernization Act? It was required. If your drug is going to go to humans at some point, it was required to start in animals. People don't like to look at, let's talk about Trump. People don't like when you bring up that legal veterans living in our country are rounded up by ICE when Trump's going after illegal immigrants. They'll say, oh, that's just a small percentage, right? That's not who they're going for. That just happened. But when they look at a scientific study, which a lot of people like to forget exists, but if you want new medicine, if you want new drugs, this shit happens. They'll take the smallest fucking thing, leave out all the context behind it, and just be like, look, they're fucking making hamsters fight on steroids and shooting up dogs with cocaine. This is how scientific research works. You might not like it, but that's how it works, especially before the Modernization Act was passed. Training mice to get drunk. Were researchers really training mice to get drunk? No, they weren't. The grant in question is NIH-funded Mechanisms for Potential of Glycine Receptors by Ethanol. The research studied one of the alcohol receptors in the brain. There are several, by the way. By comparing the effects of alcohol on mice with a working receptor and mice without a working receptor to see if the receptor could be a potential target in treatments for alcoholism. The training mice to get drunk accusation is misrepresentation of one of the 8 publications produced by the research, which included conditioned place preference, a test commonly used in studies to determine how addictive behaviors play out in context. For example, if a drug addict uses drugs in the same environment, like their bedroom, then entering that conditioned place, the bedroom, can induce cravings and cause addicts to relapse. Finding a way to break that conditioning could decrease the likelihood of a relapse. In short, the government did not spend $1 million 101,157 to get some mice tipsy. It spent that money on studying a novel mechanism for approaching the treatment of alcoholism by identifying a receptor that could prevent relapse. Again, read the Festus report all you want. This is bullshit. They're taking it out of context. They always are. No one argues that the government spending is perfect, that nothing can ever be cut. But to come out here and just fucking lie about what you're cutting or shut down all of USAID because, one, they promoted an investigation for you and Starlink, but two, because you allocate all of their budget to something that doesn't even exist is wild. Fucking wild. Somebody brought this up yesterday while we were talking about this. Kamala Harris, 60 Minutes interview. They're mad as hell that it was cut to fit inside of 60 Minutes.
According to MAGA, we were moments away from the greatest political scandal being exposed in history. And then the thing they had been asking for happened. And, well, it didn't go the way that they were hoping. You might remember that Donald Trump has been screaming about, bringing up constantly, the idea that CBS, the false, ridiculous idea, I should note, that CBS committed political election interference by, wait for it, editing Kamala Harris's 60 Minutes interview. Like every 60 Minutes interview has been edited since the beginning of 60 Minutes interviews, okay? That's what they do, because even the name of the show demonstrates, if you have multiple subjects, this was their election special, so they had different things going on within the hour or 60 minutes that the show would play. You then do a full interview with the candidate, and then you pick out the parts that you think will be most relevant for the show. That's what they did with Trump. Whenever they did his 60 Minutes interview, he didn't do this round because he was too scared to do it. But anyways, he's been making these claims to justify, he wants to take CBS off the air. And so, as we always talk about...
Wait till you see what they did with Trump.
Justification when you do something authoritarian like that. So his justification became, they did something wrong with the Kamala Harris interview. Now, because he brought a lawsuit against CBS, they went ahead and released the footage. I'll show you Trump's reaction, but first, I sent out a post. I said, MAGA was out there screaming, release the full Kamala CBS interview, it will reveal a bombshell. CBS goes, okay, here it is. MAGA, silence. They're not so hyped now that it didn't reveal what they were hoping. I don't know what they thought it was going to reveal. They had created a whole fictional world to live in. Before getting to Trump's reaction, let's look at some of this raw footage. Again,
and that they added one question for time, but both segments have been played. But it's not changing an answer, right? They actually changed Trump's answer.
Out any edits and just we click record and this is what we had on the Kamala Harris camera angle. If you appreciate the show, please do click the subscribe button.
Okay, and then you know that mold is at an all-time high today, which is the one thing I'm allergic to. Okay. Pollen is down. Mold is up. You know, I know that as a matter of fact because I was watching CBS this morning. They had a little stream.
Gosh, she thinks it's so funny. She thinks she's so special. Is that what this is? You think it's so funny? You think you're hearing me, Kamala? You're so special because you have allergies. Well, I bet Trump doesn't. Hey, why are you laughing? That's how I imagine they respond.
Now that I think about it, indeed.
See you, Chris? I'm gonna just sniff it once.
Why are you sniffing like that? What are you doing, cocaine? What are you doing, cocaine, Kamala?
This is the majority of the cut, by the way.
You breathing in your nose and you have the sniffles? What is this, Morse code? To the Russians? Wait, no, we like the Russians. To the Ukrainians? Is that what this is? Cocaine? That's how I imagine they would respond.
Good. Coming around. Done? Yeah. Got on both? This will be clear the background. Good done? Yes.
No problem. Just do what you need to do.
Why is she touching your hair? Is she putting an earpiece in your ear so that you can be fed your lines because you speak so eloquent? I mean, no, because you speak badly. Wait, but the only way you could speak that way is if you had an earpiece like you did in the debate with your earring that wasn't in your ear, but somehow it was still feeding you lines, and that's how you did so good. I mean, you did bad. I mean, you did That's how I imagine they would respond.
Bro, I'm not going over every fucking line. A bunch of them are bullshit. No one's saying that every dollar the government is spent adequately. A bunch of them are bullshit. The major ones are all fucking bullshit. You know, they said there was $600 million spent on sushi for employees of the Pentagon.
We're all perfectly happy. Everybody happy? What's it? Good?
I'm good.
All right. Well, Madam Vice President, I want to thank you for doing this.
Of course.
And thank you for inviting us to New York.
Of course.
We're going to be running this on the anniversary of the Hamas attack.
Yeah.
What, are you just going to sit there? You're just going to sit there and listen while someone else talks? You're so calm because you're on cocaine, Kamala? Wait, no, but
That's her. That's her secret listening ones.
Oh no, I don't know what it would feel like to be them. They were wanting something so bad, and it's just her being breaking news a person.
October 7th.
So let's just start. Hang on 1 second, though. Yeah, shall we get some in the background? I'm afraid you're going to have to leave us now.
Okay, whoever's in the dining room? Okay.
Okay. And then they get into it. And it's 53 minutes, so we will watch that. But that's, if we can remember, we can also just search it up if we forget. But I'll try to remember to put this link in the description. Make a note, Jaden, if you would. And you can watch the whole thing yourself. And I'll tell you what a fair criticism would have been. But this was election interference when they edited it in the most normal way imaginable, which is if a politician gives a really long answer and you need to squeeze it.
I know the trans opera one is bullshit.
Sometimes you just pick out, all right, here's a part of the answer we can use. Just like they did with Trump.
You're even throwing up ones that are bullshit.
To make it more of a pleasurable viewing experience. Okay? But Trump is continuing forward with his authoritarian promise to target them, or at least declaration that they should be targeted. He won too. Well, listen to what he says, because it's crazy given that he won this stupid election. CBS and 60 Minutes defrauded the public by doing something which has never to this extent been seen before. They 100% removed Kamala's.
Speaking outside the White House on Monday, the 3rd of February, Levitt held up a single sheet of paper that claims she outlined USAID's expenditure for DEI. She listed $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $70,000 for production DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a trans opera in Colombia, $32,000 for transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I want my dollars going towards this crap. It sounds unlikely that USAID, an international development agency focused primarily on providing vital food aid, extremism prevention projects, and disaster relief in countries around the world, would add transgender operas to its spending list. That's because it didn't. Levitt was referring to a 2022 production of an opera called As One, a chamber opera by acclaimed American composer Laura Kaminsky, which focuses on the inner journey of Hannah, a transgender woman, and her process of personal discovery from her childhood in a small town. 3 performances of As One were put on in Bogota, Colombia in March and April of 2022, thanks to a co-production between La Compañía Estable and the Universidad de los Andes. The $47,000 figure quoted by Levitt appears to be related to the fact that Universidad Los Angeles and Bogota received a grant for $25,000 under a State Department program allocated for expanding and strengthening the relationship between the people and the government of the United States and the citizens of the rest of the world. So because a company got a grant for something, now everything they do from now on is supposedly linked to that grant. The remaining $22,000 for the production also wasn't funded by the federal government. According to Notice, a Washington publication for the nonprofit, nonpartisan Al-Britain Journalism Institute. When asked about the lie, Deputy Press Secretary Anna Kelly told Notice it was immaterial. President Trump is delivering on his promises to cut wasteful spending across the U.S. aid is just doing what U.S. fucking aid does. There is no proof whatsoever that links the money that this group received to anything that has to do with them partnering to bring, a year later, to bring an opera to their town.
Horrible election-changing answers. Is he suggesting that she would have won if they hadn't done that? Because that's what election-changing means.
You're throwing out fucking bullshit examples already.
To the questions and replaced them with completely different and far better answers taken from another part of the interview. This was election-changing stuff, election interference, and quite simply, election fraud at a level never seen before. CBS should lose its license, and the cheaters at 60 Minutes.
Hold on. Their actual 2022 Columbia spending list. USAID website is currently down, making it extremely difficult to access historical information like annual reports or budget documents. However, using Internet Archive's Wayback Machine, which stores and preserves web pages, it's possible to read the agency's Columbia Assistance Overview Report, which I can pull up. The report details how ongoing economic and political crisis in neighboring Venezuela led to an influx of around 2.5 million refugees seeking sanctuary in Colombia that year. At the same time, almost 1 million Colombians who had immigrated to Venezuela returned home, putting a huge strain on food supplies and local health services. In response, USAID's Bureau for Humanitarian Assistance prioritized the provision of emergency food assistance, including cash transfers for food, food vouchers, redeemable in local markets, and hot meals, not operas. Here's their entire overview of their budget for Columbia assistance. You're not going to find trans opera here. If they're lying about the most extreme things, why are they not fucking lying about everything else? Oh, now you got to go. Now that it's all bullshit. I got you. right? What about this example? That one's bullshit. Here's the receipts. If this is just an echo chamber, I'll just leave, bro. Fuck off, all the way off.
Should all be thrown out, and this disreputable news show should be immediately terminated. With the new Democrat scandal that just arose with respect to USAID illegally paying large sums of money to Politico and other media outlets, the question must be asked, was CBS paid for committing this fraud? Many other questions.
Hold on, here's the link. Go read every dime they spent in Colombia. Come back with a trans opera. I didn't know it was such a sensitive topic. I'll just go.
To come. This will go down the biggest broadcasting scandal in history. Still not understanding which words you're supposed to capitalize the first letter of, but we'll let that pass so that we can focus on the authoritarianism. So him saying they should be taken off the air because he didn't like their coverage. That's it. Don't even. Sometimes I'll see people in the media and they'll start analyzing his claims. What does he mean? What did CBS? Go watch it. It's an interview. I mean, it's just an interview. And then just like his interviews, you edit it. And there's no deception. There's no change of her message. There's none of it.
Did anybody in the world think that the 60-minute interview, that they rolled the camera from the time the person sat down until they fucking left the building and nothing was removed from that? Anybody in the entire fucking world? You know who else's 60-minute interview is edited? Trump's. They take the best questions and answers and allocated for time. They edit it down.
And the weird thing is, and I made this point more before the election, but they're kind of just complimenting her when they do this. In my, sort of being silly, imitating a MAGA person watching that Kamala interview, I brought up the earpiece thing. There was a real cohort of Trump supporters who thought that in the debate she had an earpiece.
So the way they're getting, if you didn't understand the way I explained this, the way they're getting this is, let's say that I get in the hurricane. So let's say I start a nonprofit after the hurricane, and FEMA sends me fucking $50,000 to feed people. I apply for it and I get it, and it's to feed people and repair relations between local people and the U.S. government, because we don't trust the U.S. government. So I'm feeding people. I'm telling them, hey, this come from the U.S. government. They're helping to pay. Hey, this come from the U.S. government. They're helping to pay, and feeding people, right? And then let's say 6 months from now that I buy 10 tickets to fucking see the new Batman movie. And they're like, $50,000 went to send flood victims to Batman movies. What are you talking about? The fuck are you talking about? And we're going to see a Fox News clip here where they changed his answer. They asked him about releasing Fox News asked him about releasing the Epstein files. That what they air is yes. What actually happens, like, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes that affects a lot of people's lives, and we don't even know if they're true, and I don't want to affect people. What? They changed his fucking answer.
To which you would respond, you thought she did that good that she would have to have been being fed lines, which, by the way, that's so dumb. I've said it before, but anytime Jaden talks in my earpiece here,
I think Jake Tapper's the one who got it.
It would be so hard for him to talk, and when you saw her ear, there was nothing in it, as if I need to fact check that. But with this too, they say it made her look so much better. So you thought she came off well? No, she came off terribly, but she would have come off worse. I don't know.
So basically, the one in question is asking about what we do in Israel. And there's a longer form of the question that she says, basically, we already did all this in Israel, and now we need to focus on a ceasefire and blah, 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 and the way we can start a ceasefire. So in the morning, they played a portion of her entire answer where she said, we already did all this, and now we need to focus on a ceasefire. But for 60 minutes, they cut out what we've already done, and they just put in the part about, we need to focus on moving forward. We need to focus on a ceasefire and blah, 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 blah. The answer didn't change, right? She reiterated what they had already done and then went into the future. And for the 60 minutes portion, they just did what needs to be done in the future.
I don't know. But all silliness aside, this is tragic and frightening. In one of my appearances on the Tim Pool program, I tried to explain why a party that screams so much about censorship of the other side, right, the left is pro-censorship, seems to be really okay with censorship when it's Donnie T proposing it.
USAID wanted to investigate Musk and his use of Starlink and putting Starlink in places that were affected. They called, the Inspector General called for his investigation over it.
right, you were a pariah in society.
Okay,
You see that in the comment section about me. Like,
so, first off, political violence of any kind, if you're saying that someone attacked your car or something because there's a MAGA sticker, that's insane. They shouldn't do that. It is important to remember that the data show that right-wing political violence is far more... political violence, well, I'm just going to finish the point. You went for a while there. And then, yeah, you bring up January 6th. That's an instance of political violence. But what you need to understand about something I've explained to Isabel before is that to understand our political analysis of two different relevant, prominent leaders, you have to at least limit it for some logical discussions to the leaders we're talking about, not vibes and abstract perceptions of an entire side. Because on any side, people will do crazy stuff.
Abstract
But in the case of...
like, look at the BLM riots for months. Like, that's largely left-wing activists. How come it's that
and Democrats believed that if you committed crime, you should be held accountable for them.
That's not true.
Unlike Trump, actually,
That's not true.
That's not true. Unlike Trump, actually wanting to pardon people who were violent on January 6th. But I will say, in the case of Trump, I'm all for protecting free speech. Y'all will sometimes mix up social media censorship, which if you have a platform, you're on a platform, you have terms of service. We can do that.
And by the way, U.S. aid is like 1% of the U.S. budget. Feeding and housing and clothing and protecting people around the world is 1% of the U.S. budget.
About what those terms of service should be, but that's not the same as government infringement.
But the government did infringe.
Right? And I'm going to complete my point really quickly. We can address that.
It's already getting heated, not even 5 minutes in.
And then
I want to get to the Jake. Where's the Jake Tapper?
And then she disagree with that, but there I lay out what is usually the game that gets played. So you have some lefty person, right? We'll call them.
Did he cut it out?
We'll call them. No, we won't give them a name. There's some lefty person out there.
Okay, it was Jake Tapper, Fox News edits, Trump answer. I want to find it. It looks like it was cut out of that video.
In our politics lead, there's a story playing out between Paramount and CBS News, President Trump, and the federal...
I think this is it. All right, here we go.
That any American who values a free and independent press should care about, including Trump supporters who should not like the precedent that is being set. The story started last fall when 60 Minutes interviewed then Vice President Kamala Harris. Then candidate Trump did not agree to sit down with the news magazine, but nonetheless he protested how 60 Minutes edited the Harris interview. Specifically, the answer she gave after correspondent Bill Whitaker asked the Vice President why Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu...
Anybody that would come in here and be like, this program isn't real, that program isn't real, this program isn't real, and then they just happen to throw out one I've already fucking looked up, and then be like, I didn't know it was an echo chamber in here, bro. I'll just let myself out. They were here just to throw out random numbers and random programs to score a fucking win. That's exactly what they were here for.
Was not listening to the Biden administration. Now, in a preview clip that ran on CBS's Face the Nation Sunday morning, Harris was shown answering like this.
The work that we have done has...
Okay, here's the two different answers, and you tell me if they changed anything, if they changed an answer.
Preview clip that ran on CBS's Face the Nation Sunday morning, Harris was shown answering like this.
The work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But during 60 Minutes airing, Harris gave this answer to the same question.
We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Now, CBS News explained the discrepancy by saying they had merely run two different parts from the same longer answer, and that is indeed what the transcript revealed. Now, CBS News did not post the transcript at the time, but
those were exactly, one was like what we've already done, the other one is what we need to pursue in the future. They were both part of the same exact answer.
Did turn it over to the FCC this week, and the FCC released the transcript to the public yesterday. But that is far from what Donald Trump alleged happened.
They took the answer out in its entirety, threw it away, and they put another answer in.
Now, that is, as we saw from the transcript, obviously not what happened at all. But still, Donald Trump called this incident, quote, the greatest fraud in broadcast history, unquote.
And this is going to set a huge precedent on media in the future.
Trump said, quote, CBS should lose its license, unquote. And then Trump sued under news distortion rules for $10 billion. Now, the suit is widely regarded by legal
and he's doubled down since the transcript was released. So his claim is, he started off saying the truth, like, well, I guess the truth, depending on how you look at it. Like, her first little answer was kind of rambly, and her second one was more concise, so they used the second one. But they played both of them. That doesn't make any sense. If they were trying to hide this, don't you think they'd fucking hide it instead of accidentally playing it in the morning? Anyways, but it doesn't matter. They didn't change the substance of her answer, which I think would be huge. Like, if they said, who do you support more, Israel or Hamas? And one of her answers was, I support Israel. And the other one was, I support Hamas. And they switched those out. That'd be fucking wild, right? But if her answer is this long answer that is, okay, here's the things that we've already done, and I think we need to start there. And her second answer is, in the future, we need to move to these things. And one of those is in one spot, one of them's in another. I don't give a fuck. It's still the same answer.
First Amendment experts as well, as one put it, quote, a frivolous and dangerous attempt by a politician to control the news media. Broadcasters have a right to edit interviews. It's editorial judgment. For example, Fox in June 2024.
Dude, I got interviewed before Helene hit. I don't know if I told you guys this. Before Helene hit, the news came out and interviewed me at the campground. I was like, it's not going to be that bad. We've been through floods before. We're like moving some shit or whatever. We had no idea how bad it was about to get. But they literally edited me all the way down to, has anybody left the campground? I was like, we had some people leave just because it was raining so much on their weekend. That was it. They edited me down to, we had some people leave. That was the only clip they got out of there. I talked to her for like 5 minutes.
Or aired this.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
That was it. Fox News played this. Would you declassify the Epstein files? Yep, I think I would. Now watch this again, and you tell me if they're changing the context of this.
2024 aired this.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
But that wasn't Trump's actual whole answer. It was a taped interview. And as Semaphore noted at the time, Mr. Trump, in the full, unedited version, sounded a lot less definitive about releasing the Epstein.
It's about Epstein. Yeah, I would. Now let's see what he actually says.
Files. Here's the whole answer.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know it. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would, or at least
Do you think that would restore trust? Help restore trust?
Yeah, I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others. Certainly about the way he died. It would be interesting to find out.
He's backing way the fuck off of it. Yeah, it might ruin some people's, I don't know. A lot of phony stuff in there, and then maybe about the death, but I don't know about the other stuff. And yeah, I don't know. Less so that one than because they asked him about JFK, MLK, and Epstein. Yeah, the other ones, yeah, maybe, but clearly that's edited for a reason. No one's claiming Fox News needs to be fucking sued or lose their license. They edit it. That's what they do.
What happened there, because that was a weird situation, and the cameras didn't happen to be working, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I'd go a long way toward that one.
Quite different, right?
Drastically different answer.
Right? Now look, Fox had every right to make that edit. Now, did that edit make Trump look more?
Exactly. They had every right to make that edit. It probably made them look better. They still had that right to make it.
Decisive, less equivocating? Did it make Trump, therefore, look better? Yep. Was that why Fox did it? I have no idea. Maybe they just had some timing issues. Either way, it's Fox's right to do it. Just as it was Fox's right to do it when they had Trump's surprise visit to a Bronx barbershop on air, which they also cut down significantly, and coincidentally or not, flatteringly, Fox had the right to do it. And not just because cable and broadcast networks have different rules. Now, the 60 Minutes editing case would almost certainly fail spectacularly in court, according to legal experts. But paramount...
These motherfuckers, I'll tell you what's the most dangerous precedent they've actually... Not just saying shit, but it seems like they're setting up precedent to ignore the fucking judge's ruling. And if that's true, we have a huge issue on our hands, right? Because the judicial part of our government checks the executive part of our government. So J.D. Vance is like, well, a general wouldn't stop this if a judge said so, and an airplane pilot wouldn't do this if a judge... I don't think the judge can limit the executive power. What are you talking about, bro? That's literally how checks and balances work. Anybody, including the president, sets out to do something, and a judge rules that it's violating someone else's rights. That's how we stop shit. And yes, it was ex parte. Trump wasn't there to defend himself because Trump's lawyers will be there to defend him in 2 weeks. And there's damage that can be done between now and 2 weeks from now. So it's put into place, given the benefit of the doubt, until he comes and argues it. But if they're just going to start ignoring judges that rule against them, we have a huge fucking issue on our hands. A huge fucking issue that he's just not going to listen to them. They have a sound legal basis that real harm can be done right now, and they don't know who's in there and what they're doing with it.
Paramount Global, which owns CBS News, is currently trying to merge with Skydance Media. And in order to do that, Paramount will need the approval of the Trump administration, specifically the FCC, which, under its new commissioner, Brendan Carr, has suggested that Trump's news distortion complaint will be considered by the FCC before any merger can be approved.
It's an ex parte order. All they have to do is make the fucking claim. I have an ex parte order against me right now that I have to go fight in court. All they have to do is make the claim.
Sherry Redstone, the owner of Paramount, who stands to make about $8 billion if this deal goes through, said one CBS News employee to me about this, quote, "Everyone expects Sherry settles with Donald Trump. She is not concerned about her legacy, democracy, or the work we do. It's only about the deal, her pocketbook. The only way she wouldn't settle is if Skydance sent her a smoke signal to hold off. Surely they realize a settlement diminishes the brand and value of 60 Minutes, which they claim to admire and want to own," unquote. For Paramount to settle this suit would be hoisting a white flag of surrender. It would be the network of Edward R. Murrow, at the behest of its owners, saying, "We will not speak truth to power, we will acquiesce to power at the expense of truth." President Trump has sued any number of individuals in the news media over the years, and the regular media. Bill Maher, journalist Tim O'Brien, CNN, and he has almost always lost, because it doesn't seem like the point is actually to win. It seems like the point is to make people think twice before they will say anything critical about him. But his latest lawsuits represent a dangerous escalation. Mr. Trump is also going after the Des Moines Register and its former pollster, Ann Selzer, for, quote, brazen election interference, unquote. Why? Well, because of a faulty poll. The wrong before the election that Trump would lose Iowa. The Des Moines Register is fighting that lawsuit, though, while it looks like Paramount will settle. The CBS News employee expressed their opinion about all of this to me, saying, quote, "Let's call it what it is. It's a bribe." Now, we should note, representatives for Paramount and Sherry.
The legal basis is that it violates Administrative Procedure Act, APA 5 U.S.C. 551, in multiple respects, exceeds the statutory authority of the Department of Treasury, violates separation of powers doctrine, and violates Take Care Clause of the United States Constitution. The states seek declaratory and injunctive relief. Later this evening, upon the state's successful filing of their submissions, this matter was assigned on a permanent basis to Honorable Gina E. Vargas, United States District Court. The court has reviewed the affirmative of Colleen K. Faherty, dated February 7, 2025, in support of state's motion for temporary restraining order, the state's memorandum of law in support of that motion, the state's motion of temporary restraining order dated February 7, 2025, and the complaint. The court's firm assessment is that, for the reasons stated by the states, they will face irreparable harm in the absence of injunctive relief. See Winter v. Natural Resources Defense Council. That is both because of the risk of the new policy presents of people on Twitter are just saying they don't have fucking, they're citing case law. And the heightened risk that the system in question will be more vulnerable than before to hacking. The court's further assessment is that, again, for the reasons given by the states have shown a likelihood of success on the merits of their claims, with the state's statutory claims presenting a particularly strong. The court's further assessment is that the balance of equities, for the reasons stated by the states, favors the entry of emergency relief. The court accordingly orders that defendants show cause before the Honorable Judge Jeanette Vargas at Courtroom 14C, United States Courthouse, 500 Pearl Street, New York, at 2 p.m. on February 14th, 2025. Wine order should not be issued pursuant to Rule 65 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure preliminarily enjoining the defendants during the pendency of this action for granting political appointees, special government employees, and any government employee detailed with an agency outside the Treasury Department access to the Treasury Department payment system or any other data maintained by the Treasury Department containing personally identifiable information, and further orders that sufficient reasons have been shown thereafter pending the hearing of the state's application for preliminary injunction pursuant to Rule 65 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. The defendants are restrained from granting access to any Treasury Department payment record, payment system, or any other data system maintained by the Treasury Department containing personally identifiable information and or confidential financial information of payees other than to civil servants with a need for access to perform their job duties within the Bureau of Fiscal Services, who have passed their background checks and security clearances and taken all information security training called for in federal statutes and Treasury Department regulations, restrained from gaining access to all political appointees, special government employees, and government employees detailed from an agency outside the Treasury Department to any Treasury Department payment record, payment systems, or any other data systems maintained by the Treasury Department containing personally identifiable information and or confidential financial information of payees. Ordered to direct any person prohibited above from having access to such information, records, and systems, but who has had access to such information, records, and systems since January 20th, 2025, to immediately destroy any and all copies of the material downloaded from the Treasury Department records and system, if any, and further orders that any opposition submission by defendants be filed by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, February 11, 2025, that any reply by the states be filed by 5 p.m. on Thursday, February 13th.
Redstone and Skydance continue to decline to comment on any of this. You know, you live long enough and you see how eroded standards that politicians think work for their side always end up being wielded against them. And at that point, it doesn't even matter who started it. It just matters that corporations are leaning on news divisions to supplicate themselves to whomever's in power because of their bottom line and the implied threat from the government. As a great CBS newsman once warned about television, this instrument can teach, it can illuminate, yes, and even it can inspire, but it can do so only to the extent that humans are determined to use it to those ends. Otherwise, it's nothing but wires and lights in a box, unquote. Sherry Redstone seems to have taken the wrong lessons from that speech. If Sherry Redstone settles, she may as well take the wires and lights and the box and sell them for parts.
Clearly, they're editing Trump's ads, but no one gets upset about that. It's only when Trump says, hey, we have to attack this person.
You're watching The Legal Breakdown. Glenn, we have a really dangerous story that is building up right now, and that is that a judge in Manhattan properly ruled that Elon Musk and his Doge Commission would be temporarily restricted from being able to access government systems that are used to process trillions in dollars of payments. Elon took to Twitter, writing, "A corrupt judge protecting corruption. He needs to be impeached now." And so now this is the new rallying cry on the right, that any judge that issues a ruling that very correctly prevents overreach from Elon Musk and the Doge Commission needs to be impeached. Can I have your reaction first and foremost to the legitimacy, the validity of Elon calling for this judge to be impeached?
Yeah, this is like Elon Musk sort of rounding up a posse of lawless thugs saying the rule of law doesn't matter. The sanctity of federal judges and the responsibility federal judges have to keep, for example, a runaway executive branch or legislative branch in check by applying the rule of law, that it doesn't matter. The Constitution doesn't matter. If you disagree with something that Donald Trump and his co-president Elon Musk are trying to do, we are coming after you in the most lawless.
Dude, temporary injunctions are always oversubstantial. Because in 2 weeks, they get to make their case that it isn't there. The same reason that when you go for a temporary restraining order, that's a temporary preemptive injunction. When you go there and say, hey, my husband beats me, you don't have to fucking show bruises. You don't have to show a record. You don't have to have a video. You don't have to have nothing, because it has to be set up within 2 weeks in the state of Tennessee. In 2 fucking weeks, you have to appear in front of a court. They'll go ahead and take that guy's firearms out of his fucking home within 48 hours with zero fucking evidence, just on you stating it, because there's a chance that harm can be done between now and then. Now, he has to appear in a timely manner within 2 weeks in front of a judge, of course, because you're infringing on someone's rights. It's the same way that a fucking red flag gun law works, right? They're put in place to protect whatever needs protecting, and then you make your case later on.
Way. We're going to ask that you be impeached, that you be removed from office, that you at least figuratively be dragged off the federal bench by the scruff of your black robe. This is lawlessness run amok. And, you know, when Elon Musk says something like, this is a corrupt judge acting corruptly, that is stone cold bullshit. That is a judge in New York, a federal judge in the Southern District of New York, applying the facts and the law to a question of whether things should be temporarily frozen, whether there should be a temporary injunction or a temporary restraining order issued to put a stop to the potential lawlessness of Elon Musk and his band of frat boys getting into our, among other things, PII, personal identifying information, our financial information. This is stuff that these, part-time government employees or, temporary government employees, limited purpose government employees are not permitted to access. And I'll tell you, I think the federal bench is showing that it will stand strong. It will not cater or kowtow to Elon Musk / Donald Trump's lawlessness. And, Brian, this is is not the only temporary restraining order or injunctive relief being granted. It's being granted in court after court by judge after judge. And we may talk in a few minutes about another judge in D.C. and compare and contrast how they're dealing with that Trump-appointed judge's temporary restraining order, issued at virtually the same time as Judge Engelmeyer, the federal judge in New York, his injunctive relief. We'll talk about the differences there. But I'll tell you, this is lawlessness run amok. And, this is something that the federal bench will not stand for, should not stand for. And the federal bench is showing itself to be a bulwark against Trump and his co-president Elon Musk's lawlessness.
Glenn, just for posterity here, what is the bar to impeach a judge? Just so that folks who are watching right now have an
If
understanding.
anybody should have stood up to this, it should have been Trump's pick to head the Treasury.
Of whether Elon can even be successful at doing the things that he's trying to do.
It's a fairly high bar. In order to impeach a federal judge, the Congress would have to go through the exact same exercise it went through when they impeached Donald Trump, let's see, once, twice. I think it was just twice, right? First, the Congress votes out one order.
The reason you can get these orders like this is because it's made for the petitioner to be protected. If they have merit and they can prove that they would suffer harm if this isn't put in place now before we go to court in 2 weeks, then it's almost always grounded as long as it's got something to stand on.
More articles of impeachment, somebody who is...
In Tennessee, when we're talking about temporary restraining orders, I would know. We're talking about temporary restraining orders. It's almost impossible not to get one. You go check some boxes that you feel threatened. That's it. Then you have to see a judge within 2 weeks because it restricts some of your rights. It's fucking coming out. You didn't get to speak to the judge. It's ex parte, right?
Has essentially committed high crimes and misdemeanors. If a federal judge is completely running amok, then they can impeach the judge in the House of Representatives. They can take that article of impeachment, think of it like almost like a criminal charge. If this were a criminal case, hand it off to the Senate, and the Senate would then have to hold a trial for that federal judge and decide if that article of impeachment was proven and if it takes a 2/3 vote in Congress to remove somebody, and then they would have to vote to see if they wanted to convict that judge at the conclusion of the Senate impeachment trial. Of course, Donald Trump was impeached twice by the House of Representatives, but was convicted neither time by the Senate.
Right, so it would take a simple majority to vote out the articles of impeachment. Republicans do have that in the House. It would take 2/3 of the majority in the Senate, which they, of course, don't have. Glenn, to that point, does anything that Judge Engelmeyer did here rise to the level of, I wouldn't even say high crimes and misdemeanors, even rise to the level of improper rulings? Is anything that he did here improper?
No, Brian, it is heartland proper. It's exactly what judges are supposed to do. Take a request to basically freeze things, maintain the status quo, because that really is all injunctive relief or a temporary restraining order is. It says, look, there may very well be illegality going on here. So what I'm going to do, because the plaintiffs made an adequate showing that what Elon Musk and company are doing is wrong, I'm going to freeze everything, and I'm going to set another hearing for the future where we can...
And that's the way it should work. That's the way it should work. If you can prove that you're going to suffer harm, everything should be frozen until you can make your case. That way, they're not just whoever you're going after isn't just fucking destroying every goddamn thing before you go to court. Then it's ruled that they can't do it, and they're like, oh, well, okay, we can't do it in the future. They already fucking did it.
Drill down, maybe take some evidence, hear some argument, and make a decision as to whether Elon Musk and his frat boys should be given all of the nation's information that is held, tightly held, closely held, and protected by law at the United States Treasury. This is exactly what judges are supposed to do, and there is not a hint or a whiff that Judge Engelmeyer did anything wrong or overstepped his judicial authority in any way, but that doesn't matter to Trump, Musk, and the rest of them. They are hell-bent on flooding the zone with illegality, continuing to cram this stuff down the throats of the American people. The courts, they're hoping, I would say cram it down the throats of Congress, but Congress has already laid down and given up, it seems. And that is their hope, that the federal courts get overwhelmed and can't put even a temporary stop to this suspected illegality, but the courts are proving otherwise.
Do you have any concern that...
Sure. Hillary shouldn't have destroyed emails. I don't think you'll find anybody that would say that she should have destroyed them.
This pressure campaign being waged by folks on the right who have the biggest megaphone on the planet are gonna have some type of a chilling effect on judges who commit the cardinal sin of doing their jobs, as was the case with Judge Engelmeyer here?
No, I don't. And here's why, Brian. Let's shift down to D.C. for just a minute, where at virtually the same time that...
She shouldn't have had a server.
New York federal judge was putting a stop to Musk, going in and raiding the Treasury's information about us. A judge down in D.C., Carl Nichols, who happens to be a Trump-appointed judge, was issuing a similar TRO, a temporary restraining order, saying, listen, you're trying to improperly shut down...
If they would have got emergency injunction saying that she couldn't delete even the emails that she thought were work-related and got a third-party mediator to go through those and see if they're work-related or not.
The USAID. And in fact, it's really compelling reading if you want to read the very short order that was issued by Trump-appointed Judge Carl Nichols saying, and by the way, it looks like there are many USAID workers who are now stranded overseas, foreign service officers who are being deprived access to their own emails and computer systems. They are in harm's way, and they're being told, you've got 30 days to get back to the United States.
I don't think her and her lawyer should have gotten to decide what was work-related and what was not. There should have at least been a third party there.
Ordinarily, foreign service officers under similar circumstances would be given 6 to 9 months. Judge Nichols said, stop it now. I'm issuing a TRO. I'm freezing everything you're trying to do, and I am ordering that those foreign service officers will not have to flee and return to the United States on these truncated timelines. And so, listen, I haven't seen Elon Musk say, oh, well, that Trump-appointed judge who issued a similar restraining order against Donald Trump's administration, they need to be impeached. It's only the Obama-appointed judge up New York. And what do you think the motivation for treating those two judges differently might be?
Right. And finally, let's end with this. To that exact point, what do you think these same Republicans, what do you think the Elon Musks of the world would be saying if President Kamala Harris gave George Soros carte blanche to just raid the Treasury to find our personal identifying information, social security numbers, and any other info that he wanted without any oversight or pushback from anybody in Congress?
Yeah, they would say string them up, at least figuratively speaking. You know,
I think at least figuratively is being generous right there.
I'm being generous and I'm being careful there, but they obviously wouldn't stand for it. And here is, one of the end game questions here, Brian. If they can get a, MAGA Mike Johnson controlled House of Representatives to issue and vote on an article of impeachment for the New York judge who just tried to put a temporary stop to what Musk and Trump are doing, and then they send that over to the House, I mean, might they actually try to go through with a Senate trial? I don't think they'll have the numbers, the requisite 2/3 to convict, but will they put a judge who is simply doing his job through the kind of living hell of a nefarious impeachment and Senate trial on the article of impeachment? It may very well be they do, but here's the thing that I want our viewers to hold fast to, Brian. There are points of light stepping up, and they are federal judges, and I do not believe they will be deterred from continuing to do the right thing because Elon Musk is tweeting about what should happen. If they do, they are standing up, and they are the points of light in this gathering Trump darkness that we are experiencing, and we have to support them, we have to prop them up, and we have to make sure that the points of light continue to grow and gather strength. And
what's even scarier is Elon Musk has real reason to help protect and please China. Like, not even like we're assuming you would want it. Like, he's got factories and shit there, right? He does business there. He's got a real legitimate reason that will make him wealthier to appease China.
And hold fast to the illegality, because it feels like public sentiment is building. We certainly know, Brian, world sentiment is building against some of what Donald Trump has been saying he wants to do around the world, like in the Middle East. And it is this public and world sentiment that I think will bring more pressure to bear. And we have a saying in the practice of criminal law here in D.C., pressure bursts pipes. So we need to keep.
And we are going to be at war with China, or at least China is going to invade Taiwan.
The pressure on these guys.
Well, that's perfectly put, and we will continue to do exactly that for those who are watching right now. If you want to follow along, please make sure to subscribe. The links to both of our channels are right here on the screen. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
And I'm Glenn Kirshner.
You're watching The Legal Breakdown.
I'm more worried about, if we're talking about personal identifying information, it kind of sets a weird precedent here. First of all, what Trump's doing by executive order, money it's already allocated, it's already being spent, it's already being sent. Congress has already approved. They control the purse strings. Now Trump's trying to shut it down. That's a weird precedent to set to begin with. But I'm more worried about how they're handling this information. We had reports from lifelong employees that they were just coming in and sticking thumb drives in machines and shit. Like, I'm not thinking that Elon Musk is going to steal my identity, but who's to say that one of these fucking kids that he's running around with doesn't leave it on a file somewhere and end up in anybody's hands, and then it just gets published to the dark web again. How many times have I went and trusted I don't trust some 19-year-old with a fucking thumb drive that's running around Elon Musk. I've trusted Target before, they fucked me. I've trusted Walgreens before, they fucked me. I've trusted Walmart before, they fucked me. I'm more concerned, if we're talking about the personal identifying information, is either him getting information on his enemies to use, I'm not one of his enemies, or it just not being handled appropriately. And that gets lost or gum up the works or fucking out there. All right, guys. Tired of making Trump supporters look bad. I'm out. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for the support. I'll be back tomorrow. And I got some fights going on with the VA right now. It's fucking stressing me out, to be honest with you. But hopefully that gets taken care of soonish. And by soonish, I mean within the next fucking 5 years, I guess. Thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. We'll see you about the next one. Have a good night. Love you. See you. Bye.
But I can tell you this, about if this douchebag happens to see this particular show, you don't have the forking balls to call out the people on this planet by name.
I'm trying to get my rating fix at the VA, and that would allow me to continue to do the show without so much pressure for donation, subscription, shit like that. If I get it taken care of, I'll be doing a lot better. Especially with what's going on right now with my mental health and shit. So we'll see.
Here we go. I think I started some shit. Piss them off. It's about to get lit. Get the place in them bets. You know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well, listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6th sense for the stupid shit. Where my true believer? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshipping Trump's cock and begging for a throat deposit. Swinging fucking meat hammers like four in a thong. He's strapped to the shaft, eating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers, cause you told him if he did, he'd get.
I wonder how many of them have TikTok installed on their phone. You know they're young. I wonder how many of them have TikTok installed on their phone, and government employees are not supposed to have it. So, and then walked into all these departments at Succo's collecting all kinds of user data right now. Probably working overtime. That's why she's always late to the show.
Cause you ain't seen none yet. I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped it to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit strapped to an F-16.
At Succo, if you happen to come across it, I had a really, really flattering dick pic back in 2017.
On his shoulder and said,
and I thought about adding that to my Tinder profile, but I accidentally deleted it. If you come across it,
wait, what are you doing? Stop.
You know how to get it to me.
Dude, come on. Seriously. This is my mom's an alcoholic.
It's from an extremely low angle. Like I had my phone in a swing, hanging from, you know what I'm saying? Like a little bassinet. And it's really low angle, okay? Just remember that.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in them bets, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Round 3.
Good night, guys.
Nino. We say it isn't so.
Don't go to any trans operas.
Ram it down his throat. Now things are getting rocking.
I wonder if Trump thinks the Trans-Siberian Orchestra is trans.
That we're doing no damn research. They be working copy on cocks that came first. 9th inning, 2nd string, and they acting like they know hitters. Ass on slow and bullshit, sending bronze to the shitter. All this nonsense on my conscience. It's hard to sleep at night. Who the fuck is in my window with this time of the night?